Hello my wonderful people and welcome to the Stardew Valley Sunberry mega movie. This is over 300 days of playtime neatly edited down into one giant video. In this 3.5 hour long movie, we're gonna take a deep dive into Stardew's newest expansion mod, Sunberry Village. Featuring new areas, new villagers, an old museum collection, mine levels, fish species, and the cutest pixelated cat cafe you'll ever see. Aside the Sunberry expansion, I do also have a couple of other mods installed as well, all of which will be listed down below. Now without further ado, sit back, relax, maybe grab a snack, or maybe good night if you're watching this to fall asleep too, and enjoy the video. My modded adventure began just like any other run, waking up on day number 1 in my new home. But unlike the usual parsnip seeds, this time I got 10 strawberry seeds and a preserve jar. This is the default starter gift on Skelt's Wildhaven farm, which is actually from the same creator who uploaded the Sunberry mod. This map is absolutely ginormous. Not really sure if I'm ever gonna utilize all of this space, but it's certainly handy to have. After marveling at my brand new property, I noticed that I already had mail. A letter from Diala and Daria inviting me to their cat cafe, as well as my first edition from the Shrooms and Blooms magazine. Usually at this point in the video I would go over the different goals that I had for this first income year, but to be completely honest with you, I didn't really have any. Well, at least not any as ambitious as in previous runs. When I started recording this a few weeks ago, I was mostly playing this for my own enjoyment. I wasn't sure if I was gonna make a video on this, let alone a 100 days movie, so for now, I wanted to focus on exploring Sunberry as much as possible, get to know all of the different villagers, and also play around with the Wildflower Artisan expansion, since these two mods are kinda like the main focus of this playthrough. I cleared out enough space to plant all of the seeds that I got, made a chest to free up my inventory, and headed into town. At the grocery store I met our first new villager, Sterling, who works part-time for Piers, and he's part of my favorite mini expansion, Always Raining in the Valley, which I'm gonna talk about a bit more later. I already had a decent amount of crops planted back at home, but as per usual, I dumped all of my money on 10 potato seeds. After that I made my way towards Sunberry, where I noticed a bundle to the left side of the village entrance. I needed something called Junimo gems, which at that point I had no idea where to get, so I ignored this for now. The first house that I walked into belonged to Myung and her husband Silas, who works as a blacksmith. The local clothing store is owned by Ezra, where I can buy different shirts, pants, and even hats. Of course I had to check out the cat cafe, where I met the two sisters, Daria and Diala. They have coffee for sale, which I'm definitely gonna keep in mind for later. And the last person that I met was Elias, who works at the Sunberry library. Upon checking out the room upstairs, I already got a cutscene with him where he showed me the now empty museum section. Pretty bare is an interesting statement, considering it was completely empty up here. Yeah, I know where this is going. Of course, I agreed to help him restore the collection, and my first task was to get started on finding the minerals. That's enough socializing for today, so I headed back to Pelican Town. Did the usual Cindersap foresting trip where I found so many new items. It's crazy how much stuff the Wildflower expansion adds. I also came across a wandering raccoon who gifted me a whole cauliflower. Thanks, little guy. When I returned to the farm, I noticed just how incredibly big this map was. It took me almost an entire in-game hour just to reach my house that was on the other end. Next to the shipping bin was this glowing crystal, and it said that I can repair this, which really made me hope that these are fast travel points. Next morning I had a letter from my mom, which unlocked a new crafting machine, the produce packer. I'm far away from being able to make that, so that's something for later. Being the second in-game day meant that Willy was back in town. I rushed down to the beach, where I got the trusty bamboo rod from him, thank you very much good sir, and of course, fished for the entire day. I keep forgetting how difficult the minigame is when you just start out fishing. The bar is so tiny, I hate it. Luckily, you level up pretty quickly at the start, and not too long after, I reached level 2. When walking back home in the evening, I saw Sterling throwing up in a bin next to the saloon. Seems like someone had a bit too much beer. He said he was playing a drinking game with Shane and asked me if I wanted to join them sometime, but I politely declined the offer. I don't really enjoy alcohol all that much. I was delighted to see the rain on day number 3, that saves me a ton of energy. In town I saw a quest posted by Robin who wanted a herring. This was an easy request since I wanted to do more fishing anyways, and fishing I did. Midday I made enough money to afford the fiberglass rod and dumped the rest of the money on bait. I handed Robin the herring, then continued fishing by the mountain lake and reached level 3. This was the first time that I came back from the northern path to the farm, where I spotted 2 trees that I've never seen before. A cannoli almond and a coral fungus. Very funky. I'll be checking the help wanted board as often as I can since the prize machine offers a lot of goodies that are especially handy early on. But today's request was from Clint, who wanted 5 iron ore. Buddy, I haven't even been to the mines yet. It was time to explore more around Sunberry Village, and today I met Ophelia, who runs the Serenity Inn, Ari, owner of Ari's Market, and he basically sells the same seeds as Pierre does, but way cheaper. Seriously, how is this guy still in business? Upon walking into the nearby inn, I immediately got a cutscene with Ophelia, who showed me an available plot of land not too far from here. It was a really cute little farm with a nearby river and its own house. My dear Ophelia, I just moved in about 4 days ago. I'm hardly in the position right now to afford a new farm. I will have to say, for a meager 150,000 gold, this is a tempting offer. But again, my own farm is so massive, I doubt I will ever need the extra space. At the northern part of the map, I came across Silas' blacksmithing shop, and Mia works here as well. I cannot upgrade my tools here, however he does sell minerals, ore and geodes, so that's good to know. Right next to the building was the local mine entrance, where I saw Ophelia again. I don't have a weapon yet, so I wasn't allowed to do anything in here. I met Jomana, who owns a flower shop, and yes, there are a lot of shops in this expansion, and I haven't even seen half of them at this point. We have Ripley, the local farmer, who just moved into her granddad's old farmhouse. That seems to be a common theme around the valley. Also, can we talk about how cute her farm is? I love how she even has her own custom buildings. And the last stop for today was the Sunberry Forest, where I came across a small mouse called Rose and a beautiful woman named Wildflower. I wanted to introduce myself, but as soon as I came close to them, the mouse quickly ran inside the building. Can't impress everyone, I suppose. Wildflower greeted me and explained that Rose isn't the best with meeting new people, which is very relatable, by the way. Jokes aside, she told me to come back again in a few days for a little treat, and then we can talk more about Rose. The following morning I had Marnie waiting for me outside along with a cat. I do think that this farm could use a good cat. I mean, look at her, she is adorable. Everyone say hello to Mimi, our first of many animal friends. After taking care of the parsnip harvest, I had Louis show me around the old community center. And I have to address something quickly. I know that I had a poll on my channel a few weeks ago asking what game I should play next, and I know that the Georgia modded run was the winner of this. I got a little sidetracked when downloading the Georgia themed mods, and well, this is what I ended up with. So we're gonna be playing Sunberry first, where I'll be doing the normal community center route, and when I'm in the mood for another modded run, then I'm gonna do the expanded Georgia route. Okay, anyways. I inspected the weird golden plague on the floor inside the building, checked the help wanted board, where I had, once again, Clint asking for ore. This guy really wants me to go inside the mines. So that's what I ended up doing. As per usual, I had Marlon waiting for me at the entrance, who handed me an old rusty sword. And down I went. Unfortunately, it was a very bad luck day, so I made almost no progress. In fact, it was so bad I had to return on floor 7, as I was completely out of stamina, despite me bringing various forage for energy. Just goes to show how tiny the stamina bar is at the beginning of the game. Clint handed me a blueprint for a furnace the next day, probably so that he can ask for more ore. Made my way down to the wizard's tower, where I got acquainted with Asmodeus. I informed him about the strange scroll inside the community center. He showed me a Junimo and got salty that they refused to speak with him, drank a weird, green and very smelly potion which allowed me to learn the language of the Junimos. With my newfound language skills, I was able to finish my first bundle. This time I have the remixed options on to make it a bit more spicy. This opened up the pantry and the fish tank. Walking down to Sunberry, I came across a tiny blue ball called Moon. I haven't figured out the lore on her yet, but I'm pretty sure she is, well, a Junimo, and no one else can see her aside from myself, so that's interesting. I visited Gunther at the museum for the first time, where I got some free cauliflower seeds, thanks to my donations, and then fished by the mountain lake until my inventory was full. On Sunday I finally had luck on my side, the perfect opportunity for a mine trip. Before that I harvested my taters, tulips and carrots. Some of the crops I directly sold to peers, which allowed me to buy the first bag upgrade, which I desperately needed at that point. This trip was so much more successful than the previous one. I was zooming through the levels. Not only that, but on floor 9 I had a special slime that dropped a small glow ring. You'll love to see it. Finishing off on floor 18 with lots of ore and new museum donations. I received a very interesting letter from Wildflower the next day, informing me about the so-called Junimo gems. I don't know what I was doing here, but clearly I wasn't paying attention because she literally wrote that these gems can be obtained from artisan machines. Don't worry, I will figure it out very soon. As well as a welcome letter from Mia attached with some very delicious looking beer pancakes. So Mia is part of the Always Raining in the Valley mini expansion, along with Sterling and his cousin Henry. I already played with this mod years ago when it was exclusive to Eastscarp and I loved it, so of course I had to download it again. Unfortunately, out of these 3 people, only Sterling is befriendable, but trust me, this one character is so worth having. I bought a couple of kale seeds from Ari's since I needed those for the Spring Crops bundle, and while there I met a new face, Ren the Plumber. I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce her name, but I'm gonna say it like that one sound that Hornet does in Silksong. Friend. Right under Ari's market lives John Yuk, who has a very impressive house. And once again, I'm very sorry if I'm mispronouncing any of the names. I just don't know, I'm just an idiot. The flower shop was open today, where I bought one of each of the new seeds. Then I remembered that Wildflower asked me to visit her again. She told me that Rose and her brother came to Pelican Town a while ago to start her baking business. But instead of getting a warm welcome, they were chased away by Morris, who called them dirty rodents. Yikes. To be completely honest, if I were to see a meter-tall mouse, I think I would freak a little as well. But still, that's an overreaction to say the very least. Wildflower ran into them shortly after, and ever since, they've been living here inside her house within the forest. Obviously, Rose is very uncomfortable when facing other humans, but if I harass her long enough with love gifts, surely she can't hate me forever, right? Around the house I noticed a bunch of fruit trees down by the pond. I really hope Wildflower doesn't mind because I really need that extra cash at the moment. I caught my first 2 Sunberry exclusive fish, being a barkfish and a bubbly beta, which triggered Elias to send me a letter on Tuesday. He's working on his very own fish compendium and asked me to show him every new species that I catch. Luckily for him, I wanted to do more fishing anyways. I had my first strawberry harvest, bumping me up to level 2 in farming, commissioned a copper pick upgrade, and then made my way towards beautiful Sunberry. This time I was fishing up by the mountain where I caught an Azurian carp, Nagel fish, however you may say that, and a bonbon fish. I ran all the way to the museum and showed my haul from today to Elias. All I have to do is hand him the fish, same as you would when gifting an item, and then he will update the compendium overnight. I need you to understand how much I love this mechanic. I really wish this would exist in the base game as well. The fish compendium is basically an in-game wiki that tells you the exact location, season, weather conditions, and even the difficulty of each fish you've caught. Huge props to the mod creator, this is without a doubt my favorite part of this mod so far. When cleaning up the farm later, I saw that there was a hidden entrance behind the waterfall, as it should be in every video game. In this cozy overgrown cave, I found a lone bundle that read, "Is it time?" This is not gonna happen anytime soon, I'll tell you that much, since I need mahogany seeds and I'm currently far away from obtaining these. Since I had a newfound obsession now, I was back with more fishing that day, and I also got to check out Rose's bakery shop, as well as Wildflower's alchemy supplies. And surprise, it's more flowers. Most of these require Junimo gems as currency, so I'll have to come back later to that. The pickaxe upgrade was done the next day. I wanted to do the same with the axe, but I was missing copper ore for that. So it was time to go back into the mines. Not much to say about this trip, though I did get more than enough copper. which allowed me to commission that upgrade. It was another good luck day, so you know how it is, more spelunking. This time I made it down to floor 30, but more importantly, I got an ancient seed. I didn't even realize it at first. It is day 12 of spring, so this might just be the earliest ancient seed I've ever gotten. Needless to say, I was very happy with this new find, though the museum trip will have to wait since it was the Egg Festival on Saturday. I bought 10 strawberry seeds from the store and then chatted with everyone for the free friendship boost. I love that the Sunberry villagers also have their own area to the left side. I wasn't sure if they were actually gonna attend the vanilla festivals, but they do. And here is where I met the very last villager, Lani. She's part of an own mod for Sunberry that I downloaded a few days after I started recording, so I haven't had the chance to talk with her yet. But with that, I finally met all of the 47 townies. I managed to find 10 eggs this time, which is definitely not my best performance, but I still won the straw hat. I'm having a high ponytail this time around, so no hats for me, but Mimi can wear it instead. I harvested my kale the next day, picked up the shiny new eggs, and of course got the ancient seed from Gunther. I ran all the way down to Ezra's shop to hand her a birthday gift, Haley got one as well, and then fished for the rest of the day by the town river in hopes of finding a few catfish. During that I reached level 5 in fishing, and even with a higher level in fishing, these guys are still so tricky to catch. I took the fisher profession for that extra cash boost and sold almost every fish that I had except for a few for the community center. It is officially salmon berry season, so naturally I spent a good portion of my day looking for those berries. In the process of doing that, I made sure to grab Robin's lost axe, and upon returning it to her, I saw that Ren was visiting as well. They've actually known each other for a while now. I don't know what their relationship used to be, but Robin was happy to see her again. Since Ren is a plumber, she won't have to rely on anyone from Suzu City anymore. Demetrius posted a quest for 2 Largemount bath, which I tended to right away, though this took a bit longer than usual since I was completely out of bait at this point, but eventually I got both of them. I had another request where I had to slay 6 green slimes, and since I was up at the mountain anyways, I might as well get that done. I didn't realize before that I had to talk with Lewis to finish the bounty, so I quickly rushed down to the mayor's house where I just made it inside on time. Thanks to all of those help wanted requests, I earned my first prize ticket, which got traded in for 12 carrot seeds. The cauliflowers were ready that day, and with that I had all of the crops to finish the spring bundle. This opened up the boiler room, and I was very sad to see the engineer bundle that needed 1 iridium ore. Now that's just mean. Today was another spelunking trip. I barely made any progress in the mines so far, and I really wanted to try and push for quality sprinklers this time, since I'm usually a little lazy when it comes to that. And I know that I'm gonna be planting a bunch of new seeds in summer, and having quality sprinklers once the new season starts would be a tremendous help. I was blessed with a second glow ring, and I made it to floor 50. Speaking about free goodies, I had a mushroom log in my mailbox on Wednesday. Not really sure how that fits in there, and I'm also not gonna question that any further. The magazine wrote about how the mushroom log functions, and apparently it even works with the new pistachio, almond, anise, cocoa or walnut trees. Now I do have an almond tree on my farm, so that's where I placed it down. Also, there's a mahogany tree, right in front of my nose. Has this always been here, and I'm just blind? Chopping down this tree gave me exactly 2 mahogany seeds, which I donated towards the bundle inside the waterfall cave, along with 5 maple seeds. This prompted a Junimo to appear, and he told me to come back tomorrow, there's more to do. By now I had enough wood accumulated to commission my first animal building, a coop. I picked up the hidden prize ticket located behind Marcella's stall, which I always forget exists, not this time thankfully, which earned me a peach sapling. I ran down to Ripley's place where I handed her a birthday present, and other than me hanging around the farm, I didn't really do anything else. Thursday to Saturday were spent in the mines, the highlights being 2 diamonds, level 5 in mining, a very funky crab dance, and I left after reaching floor 85 because I really needed another pick upgrade before going any further. Today's edition of the Shrooms and Blooms magazine contained a free kitchen mortar. I popped in 1 cannoli almond that I had, and this created 1 almond milk, almond flour, and my first Junimo gem. Also, this is where I took a peek at the shipping collection for the first time, and I almost had a heart attack. Yeah, this is gonna take a while, but that's a problem for future me. I had all the materials now to finish the geologist and blacksmith bundle, which opened up the remaining 2 rooms. The vault remained unchanged as per usual, but the bulletin board was completely different. Most of these bundles were pretty simple, so I was feeling confident with the idea of completing the community center this year. So that's another goal added to the to-do list. No red cabbage hunt for me this time, thank you very much. I had Demetrius at my door on Monday, asking if he can set up the farm cave and turn it into something more useful. This time I went with the mushroom cave since it comes with a free dehydrator, and I already had 3 fruit trees on my farm. Speaking about mushrooms, the mushroom log does indeed work with the modded trees, and from this I got a honey fungus mushroom. I was delighted to see that this was usable in the kitchen mortar as well, making 1 honey out of it. I had 7 Junimo gems by now, so I went down to Sunberry and donated 5 of them to this bundle on the floor. A Junimo voice appeared and told me to come back tomorrow again. While I was in the area, I dropped off a gift for Ripley, since she's currently the one I have the most amount of hearts with, and I was hoping that I can dance with her at the upcoming event. Summer was slowly but surely approaching, and there were still a few fish that I was missing for the community center, so that was the task for today. I fished up a sardine, sunfish, and bullhead. Later in the evening, I came across Sterling, who was playing around on the train tracks. As you do, I guess. He was noticeably drunk, and we could hear a train approaching from the distance. I offered to take him back home when suddenly it began pouring down. I guess you can see why it's called It's Always Raining in the Valley. When I came back to my farm later, I went inside the waterfall cave again, where I had tons of new bundles waiting for me. Completing any of these unlocks 1 warp crystal on my farm, so you know how it is, that's another goal for the to-do list. I reached level 5 in foraging that day and took the gatherer profession. I might switch that out for the forester one later, but right now I really want to focus on collecting tons of forage. The steel pick was ready today, upgraded the axe right after that, then ventured yet again to the Sunberry entrance, where instead of the bundle I found a warp gate, which brought me to a magical new place with, surprise, more bundles waiting for me. I was getting a bit overwhelmed at this point, so I left and decided to tackle this a bit later. I wanted to do more fishing that day since I could really use the money, but I got distracted by the mine entrance close by. Upon venturing down the first level, I was immediately surrounded by a bunch of enemies. The Grim Reaper herself made an appearance and with 1 scythe swing eliminated all of the rogue mobs. No, but seriously, why does she look like that? I was so severely injured that I couldn't even talk, and Ripley had to help me get out of the cave. Safe to say, this was a terrible idea. Once again, I'll come back later once I'm better prepared. I had another copy of Shrooms and Blooms in my mailbox the next day with a freaking seed maker. That's not unlocked until I reach level 9 in farming, which I'm far away from. The magazine wrote about how I can now even create my own fruit saplings, which had me intrigued. I did have a few petite lemons saved up, and sure enough, I made my very own lemon sapling. Have I ever mentioned how much I love playing modded? It was time for everyone's favorite festival, the flower dance. I nervously approached Ripley, who even had an own festival costume. To my absolute shock, she did actually accept my invitation. I did not expect that. And together with the tallest woman I've ever seen, we shared a beautiful and slightly silly dance. The next strawberry harvest pushed me to level 5 in farming, and as I was collecting them, it felt a bit empty on this massive farm. It was time to start my ranching career. At Marnie's shop, I bought 2 chickens and 2 dodos. Indeed, I have a dodo mod installed. Everyone say hello to Baggy and Jaggy, and Jan Kutko and Garuga. Yep, we're doing Monster Hunter names this time, sue me. The following 3 days were spent almost entirely in the mines. I found my first book, the Monster Compendium, had enough materials by now to craft a glow ring, which was a very nice upgrade, and at last made it to floor 100, getting my hands on that sweet star drop. Despite all of my efforts, it was not enough to reach level 6 in farming, which is a bit unfortunate, but oh well. At least the chickens and dodos were grown up by now. The dodos produce daily eggs, just like the chickens do, and these also contribute to my farming skill, which is gonna help out a bit. I commissioned a silo from Robin, bought a few path recipes while there, and then spent the entire day remodeling the field. Because I don't have access to quality sprinklers yet, I had to settle with the regular ones, which I really don't like. I almost never bother making these, they're not worth the materials in my opinion. Still, I know there's gonna be tons of new flowers, and maybe even crops that I can plant next season, so this is gonna help out a bit. Gotta say I was pretty happy with the layout. I tried my best to make it look cute, but also functional. I was ready for summer now. First up, I tilled the fields, with already quality sprinkler spots in mind, and once I was done with that, I ran all the way over to Ari's shop. And I was really glad that I came here, as he had indeed new seeds in stock, sunberries. I purchased 12 of those, all of the other summer crops, and a few variety seeds at Wildflower's place. In the late evening, I was done with planting and watering everything, and it's not exactly the prettiest field, but it will improve over time. The next morning I had a free bowl of tropical curry in my mailbox, which I put to good use as I spent the whole day foraging. While doing that, I stopped by Hat Mouse, where I treated myself with a daisy, as this is one of the few hats that doesn't mess up my ponytail. Later I visited the community center, where I completed the summer forage bundle and dropped off a few other items to free up some chest space. On Wednesday and Thursday I was busy with fishing. I found a second ancient seed in a treasure chest, somehow managed to catch a pufferfish and even a super cucumber, which was a lot harder to catch than I had in memory. As I was running around the Sunberry forest, I noticed a tree stump right next to the pond, which revealed a hidden area to me. Aside from some regular forage, there wasn't anything else here though. I didn't find any new fish that day, but I did level up my fishing skill. I handed Myung a birthday present and then had a peek inside the Sunberry mine system again. I wanted to start on collecting the minerals for the museum, which I assumed would be available down here. I really enjoy how these floors have different color palettes and even new enemies, like this silly purple mushroom that I ran away from. I was definitely not prepared for this yet. I actually almost passed out while down there, so I left shortly after. On this beautiful summer morning, I received a letter from John Yuk, who invited me to a little get-together. Every Saturday there's a hangout event southeast of Sunberry, and conveniently it was a Saturday. Down at the beach I came across the raccoon again, who was now wearing a pink bow. Loved the glow up. I purchased myself an iridium rod, which is what I would have said if Willy was actually attending to his shop, so never mind that. But Chumana was open for today, where I got a variety of different flower seeds. I stopped by the park later, where everyone was waiting for John Yuk to start grilling. He asked if I could bring the dishes to the different people while he's busy with cooking, and this gave me an option between easy and challenge mode. Yeah, this turned out to be a little mini-game. I didn't know that I had to pay attention to the speech bubbles that everyone was shouting at me momentarily, so I did mess up a few orders, but I still got a free portion of stir-fry in the end. On day 35, I visited the carpenter, where I dumped half of my money on the big chest recipe. It's an expensive purchase, but I really needed the extra space with all of the new items that I have. I also grabbed the paint bucket so that I can start modifying the tappers on my farm. Just look how adorable these birds are, I love this mod so much. After going to bed, I saw Mr. Chi flying around the valley with his fancy plane, which means that I can collect mystery boxes now. I spent my Monday morning setting up a smaller tree farm under the crop area, and then went down to the beach to fish. I caught a tilapia, red snapper and tuna, made just enough money to afford the iridium rod, and donated the rest of today's catch towards the fish tank. On 37, I decided to have the tree farm on this beautiful heart-shaped plot instead. This might be more suitable for crops later, but right now I really needed to set up a tree farm so that I can start a proper resin production. I reached level 6 in farming upon picking up my hot peppers, and after I was done with planting the saplings, I spent the remainder of the day in the mines, resetting floor 60 over and over to gather iron ore. Because on day 38, I was finally able to make quality sprinklers. With the limited amount of iron and copper ore that I had, I swapped out almost the entire field with improved sprinklers. I upgraded my watering can, which was a mistake because I forgot I still had a few crops that weren't covered by sprinklers, but oh well. Donated a few items to the museum where I got the Treasure Trove achievement and my first rare crow as a donation reward. As I was admiring Ripley's giant melon, I noticed that I found another book, Jack Be Nimble, Jack Be Thick, which gives me a permanent +1 defense buff. Thursday was the annual Luau festival, and this time I did not have any gold quality cauliflowers like I usually do, so for the first time in forever I actually had to think about what to bring for the potluck soup. I could have bought the starfruit from the festival stall, but not for 3,000 gold. Seriously, what is wrong with you, Pierre? In the end, I decided to go with the super cucumber that I had. As always, I made sure to chat with everyone, and by the way, Rose is also here. She's been attending every event so far because Wildflower keeps making up excuses or is just straight up lying to her. Like at the flower dance, she told Rose that this would be a baking festival just because she wanted her to see the flower arrangements. And I don't really know how to feel about that because she clearly doesn't want to be here. But anyways. After adding the super cucumber, I told Louis that we're good to go, and as expected, I only got the neutral response from the governor. But hey, that's still 60 friendship points with everyone, so I can't really complain about that. The following morning I harvested my first sunberries, and I noticed that they sell for an absurd amount of money. One regular quality sunberry is worth over 120 gold. That's a little ridiculous. The logical next step was to go out and buy more sunberry seeds. As I made my way over to Ari's shop, I came across Wildflower, who was foraging outside the forest. She found an unknown flower that she's never seen before and asked if I had any knowledge about this, but I was just as clueless as she was. She tasked me to hand over any exotic forage that I find in hopes of learning more about these. The cool thing about Ari's shop is that he has a daily special sale for various items, and today he had a 12-pack of Joja Cola for only 25 gold. Yes please, that's a 30-second speed boost, I will gladly take that. While I was at his shop, I noticed that I now also had a new journal entry which was specifically for Wildflower's request. I'm not entirely sure what counts as magical forest, so that's another problem for future me. As stated earlier, I bought more sunberry seeds, as well as a few random flower seeds from Jumana. Then I was busy with laying out a new field. By now I had enough berry jelly to finish my first bundle on the farm. This rewarded me with 2 preserve jars and opened up a new warp point, which is right next to the Sinister forest. 41 was mostly spent in the local mines. On floor 110, I acquired the space boots, which are so incredibly ugly, they don't match my outfit whatsoever, but the defense boost is worth the look. Thanks to the Joja Cola that I bought yesterday, I made it all the way down to the bottom, where I obtained the skull key. Not that I have any intentions of going to the desert anytime soon, but it's always nice to have every floor unlocked. The halfway point of summer meant that my blueberries were ready for harvest, and with those, completed the summer crops and also the crabpot bundle. I spent a meager 10,000 gold on the 3rd bag upgrade, and I do also have a mod installed that gives me 4 inventory slots, but I won't bother with this until I go to the desert. While chopping trees in the Sinasep forest, I came across Rose, who seemed to be foraging out here, as well as Linus. They were both standing relatively close to each other, but somehow didn't see nor hear the other person. Eventually, they ran into one another, and Linus immediately apologized to her. Rose responded and said that she was sorry as well. Honestly, both of you should check your hearing and eyesight. Linus was so incredibly nice to her, as you'd expect from him, and it seems like this is the beginning of a beautiful new friendship. I don't know where I'm at, by the way. I guess I'm somewhere behind one of those trees, observing these two like a creep. Once I was done with spying on other people, I obtained Woody's secret, and this was the first time where Rose said hi to me and didn't immediately run away. I told you, you just have to shower people with gifts, and eventually they will like you. I spent the evening running around Sunberry, looking for any forage and chatting with people. When I wanted to return to my own place, I saw Diala and her sister working on a plant growth spell in the middle of town. Just as they were about to be done with the spell, the air suddenly became dark and gloomy. Out of thin air, a figure appeared and announced her presence, which turned out to be a demon. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Demons and magic are canon in this universe, and it's just casually brought up here as if it was the most normal thing. The first demon that appeared was Rihanna, and her little sister followed shortly after, named Aicha. Everyone around was scared and asked them to leave again, but Rihanna just said that we can't expect to summon a demon and then have them poof away whenever we want to. I mean, fair, I guess, but what? She literally said 5 seconds ago that this is the most boring place on the planet, but now you want to stay? Make up your mind, lady. Now, if this was a Conjuring movie, we could simply dispose of the demons by speaking out their names, but I'm not a certified demonologist, so what do I know really? And just like that, we have 2 demons living in Sunberry Village. I'm sure nothing bad is gonna happen. Anyways, on Monday I harvested my first ancient fruit and 1 star fruit, finished a garden bundle which rewarded me with a free quality sprinkler, and relaxed at the cat cafe where Diala made a caramel vanilla coffee for me. I'm not a coffee enjoyer, but I will have to say that sounds absolutely delicious. I definitely tried it. I awoke to a very gloomy looking rain on 44, which I am always looking forward to. Not only does a tiny snail graze my mailbox, but this also gives an instant growth boost to all of the trees on my farm. I crafted a few tappers for the ones that were fully grown, and then made my way towards the forest. During the green rain, there's unique fiber clusters that spawn all over the map, even in Pelican Town. The fiddlehead trees are also a great addition, since I actually need those for the wild medicine bundle. Before going back home, I remembered that I can now obtain the alleyway buffet, which I picked up from this shiny golden trash can next to the Joja Mart. More free loot for me, please. The following day I crafted a bee house, just 1, because I was almost out of coal at this point. I do have 2 bee house related mods installed, one that adds a bunch of new items and the other that makes them a bit more profitable. I usually tend to ignore bee houses and never really utilize them, so I'm hoping that this will motivate me to start a proper apiary. I commissioned a barn from Robin and then fished by the ocean for a tuna. With this, I finished the ocean bundle and I wanted to catch a sturgeon for the lakefish bundle, but I had no luck with that today. I unlocked the second warp crystal on my farm by offering a few orange jellies and dried fruit, handed over my axe for an upgrade, and while at the blacksmith, opened the first batch of mystery boxes. From those I got some quality fertilizer and even the Luxe Speed Grow, which I'm gonna save for the greenhouse. When I made my way over to Wildflower's place, I stumbled upon an amber moondrop, and the description said that this is a magical fruit, so I wanted to see if this counts as one of the forage items that Moonflower requested from me, and sure enough, it did indeed count. At the shop I purchased more variety seeds, as well as a Grampleton walnut sapling. I've been checking the beach for forage almost every single day for the past in-game week, and today I finally found the sea urchin that I was looking for. I only needed that 1 for a bait maker. As the name implies, this machine allows me to get bait from specific fish. It's not very useful for daily tasks, but it is incredibly handy for 2 specific mini events. The annual Trout Derby offers a ton of goodies, and all I have to do is to fish up golden tags, which can only be obtained from rainbow trouts. I reached level 8 in fishing during the day, and also level 8 in farming, which is a huge milestone as this unlocks the keg crafting recipe. On Sunday I did the exact same thing, just fishing at the derby, but before that I bought 4 cows from Marnie. Please welcome Bambaro, Barov, Beriov, and Behemoth. Once I collected all of the rewards from the festival stall, I crafted myself a fragrance extractor. Same as the kitchen mortar, this is part of the artisan expansion, and this allows me to make perfume out of various flowers and collect more Junimo gems. Since I have kegs unlocked now, I really wanted to get my hands on more ore, so I spent both Monday and Tuesday down in the mines. And speaking about kegs, as I finished the winery bundle, I got a garden pot and 5 kegs as a reward from that. Pretty crazy. I picked up my shiny new gold axe from Clint, and with that chopped down the few mahogany trees that I had on my farm, which gave me just enough hardwood to commission a stable from Robin. On day 53, I received a letter from Sebastian with a coffee brewer recipe attached with it. Now this sounds right up my alley. It says it needs cream as fuel, which I haven't figured out how to make yet, so I'll have to wait with that. With all of the ores that I gathered over the past few days, I crafted more quality sprinklers and started to beautify the second crop field. I reached level 9 in farming while picking up today's harvest, which unlocks the best sprinklers in the game, Iridium ones. Friday was a beautiful day, not because of the rain, but because Robin was done with the stable construction. How I have missed you, my old friend. I wanted to name him Roach, as I always do, but then I remembered the name theme that I have, and I'd like to stick with this, so Kelby it is. Now that I think about it again, Sacred would have been a better name, but whatever. And man, it feels so incredibly nice to have a horse this early on in the game. I am zooming through the valley. I put Robin right back to work and commissioned a coop upgrade, and as I was doing some random errands around town, I bumped into Lani at Pia's shop. She told me that she wasn't actually here to buy anything, but just to talk with Pierre as she's really into him. That's like the wildest thing I've ever heard anyone say to me. Ever. Look, I'm not gonna judge you or anything, but this is information that I really didn't need to know about. Some things are better kept to yourself. Anyways, in the late afternoon I saw Ren stopping by Rihanna's place, and she asked if they had any issues with the water, since the house they chose to live in is rather old. She did end up fixing the shower for them, and it seems like Aisha is a lot friendlier than her older sister. I'm not really sure why Rihanna is so hostile to like every single person she speaks with, so if I have any demons watching, then please share some insight down below. On 55, I didn't really know what to do, so I decided to spend my day in the Sunberry mine system. As far as I'm concerned, the mine levels are always the same, so they're not randomly generated, and there's also no elevator nor any checkpoints. On floor 5, I found a little note tucked away in the corner that read, "It should be safe if I needed to rest," from Maya. And right next to it was indeed a room with no hostile creatures and even a tent to sleep in. I found a decent amount of geodes and ore while down there, and before going back home, I stopped by Wildflower's shop to drop off some random forage that I had on me. And this was enough to finish the request for her. Diala sent me a recipe for an alchemy table the next day, though I'm not gonna bother making this yet, since the last time she used it, she quite literally summoned 2 demons, and that's 2 more than I'd like to have. The final day of summer was mostly spent on the farm, harvesting any remaining crops, making more quality sprinklers, and planted some leftover summer seeds so that I have less work tomorrow morning. I did make a pit stop at Clint's to open the geodes that I found yesterday, but this only gave me 1 new mineral to donate. I finished the vast field bundle on my farm, which unlocked yet another warp crystal, and from this I got 1 heavy tapper and 2 lightning rods. Don't mind if I do. After 10 PM it was time for the last event of the season, the Dance of the Moonlight Jellies. Mayor Lewis launched a candle boat into the wide ocean, and just on cue, the jellies arrived. I'll never get bored of watching this. Fall has officially arrived on Moonlight Farm, along with a note from Wildflower. She thanked me for gathering the forage and said that I can now add familiars to my farm, which sounds interesting, but I had other things on my mind right now. I went over to Ari's shop, where I basically bought every single crop that was available to me. He also had a carob sapling on sale, which I was not familiar with. It only bears fruit during fall, so I won't get any use out of it this season, but I still wanted to have it for next year. And just like that, 30,000 gold were gone already. I really wish that I had upgraded my hoe by now. That would have saved me a little bit of time, But despite that, I somehow still managed to plant, water and fertilize everything before it was too late. I even had time to plant the new fruit sapling. On Tuesday morning, I had yet again more goodies in the mailbox. Flower seeds from Jomana and an autumn sponty from the Shrooms and Blooms magazine. They really spoil you with this mod, and I'm not gonna complain about it. In town I saw Robin and Lewis mounting the special order board. I mean, Lewis was just standing there, Robin was doing all of the work. But before checking that out, I had to stop and talk with Ripley. Her fall outfit is so adorable, I love the braids, it fits her so well. I decided to accept Robin's project, since I wasn't really in the mood for any skeleton hunting right now, and at the mountain lake I came across our raccoon friend and he gifted me a freaking wine bottle. Where does he even get this stuff from? I hope it's from Pierre, because Gus doesn't deserve to be robbed. I finished the river fish bundle, and thanks to the raccoon, I was also able to complete the brewer's bundle. Upon walking out of the community center, I saw Sterling with his motorcycle, who was very obviously waiting for me. I hopped onto the bike and together we rode across the Ferngul coastline. Usually there's own music playing in the background, which was made by the mod creator, and I really hope that I can find it somewhere and put it in the video, because this is like one of the best soundtracks I have ever heard. Eventually we stopped next to a smaller beach area where we just hung around for a bit. He said that he values our friendship, since I'm kinda like the only person he has fun with without drinking anything, and I appreciate it. I do want to mention that I haven't decided on who to romance yet, and there will probably be a poll on my channel right after this video goes live, so feel free to check that out if you want. Now that I had a deluxe coop, I was allowed to purchase ducks from Marnie. Say hello to Pookie, Kulu, Tsitsi, and Puerlumo. Walking into Sunberry, I saw that they now also had their own special order board. The first two quests were from Blake and the other from Aisha. I don't have access to a kitchen yet, so I accepted the one for the monster parts. The bug meat was very easy to get, I was already done with that the following day, but the slime is gonna take a little while. But never mind that, I awoke to my first giant crop on day 61. It was a beautiful sight. The forest lavender has been in the same place for several weeks, and I was really happy this actually worked out. I'm not sure if I'm gonna keep this here forever, but right now I have no intentions of getting rid of it. It's too pretty. I harvested the bok choy and collected the first batch of hot pepper and sunberry wine. At the traveling cart I purchased one stuffing since I need that for the bulletin board, and then did the exact same thing as yesterday, collecting hardwood and slime. And on Saturday I repeated that. Luckily there's always a few slimes hanging around the secret woods, so today I completed Blake's request. I stopped by Robin's place to commission a barn upgrade and dropped off all of the monster parts next to Ari's shop. I was so happy that I was finally done with this. I don't want to farm for monster drops anytime soon again. As I was gathering wood yesterday, I reached level 9 in foraging, and this unlocked a brand new machinery, a wood collector. As the name implies, this machine automatically collects wood, but I'm gonna wait with crafting this. First of all, it needs a buttload of materials, and I don't really have a shortage of trees right now anyways, but it might come in handy a bit later. Today I collected the last pieces of hardwood for Robin's request, and after I dropped those off, made my way over to Sunberry to see what Blake made out of the monster parts. As I was chatting with Ari, I noticed that Blake and his friend Lyanne were standing above us with a very suspicious looking barrel. They couldn't keep it in place any longer, and the slime bomb landed right on top of Ari, which I believe was actually meant for me. I spent several in-game days gathering all of this stuff for a dumb prank. Really? This was not worth the effort whatsoever. I didn't even get any money from that, but okay. While collecting the amaranth and cranberry harvest, I maxed out my farming skill. It was officially blackberry season, which was very important since I needed quite a few of those for the community center as well as wild plums. I rode across the entire Sinister forest collecting every single berry bush in my way. New requests were posted on a special order board, and both of these were monster part related. Why? I ended up accepting the one for Willy, but no promises on that. I completed the fall foraging set and dropped off 50 blackberries for the foragers bundle. The Sunberry special order board was not any better, as there was, again, more bug-related quests posted. After this outrage, I went to bed and of course took the artisan profession for that sweet 40% sell price increase. On Tuesday I wanted to focus on crafting more of the new artisan machines, and while doing that, got the artisan achievement. Very fitting. Since these machines look a little out of place compared to everything else that I have on the farm, I decided to move them to a new and bigger spot. I'll put them into a shed once I have the materials for one. I bought 2 goats from Marnie, only 2 for now since they're quite expensive, and after that started on Willie's request. I was really happy that I decided to pursue this quest after all, as on day 67 I found a star helmet while in the mines. I didn't even know that enemies can drop rare hats like this as well. And I kid you not, 2 minutes later I got a prismatic shard from a grub. Well, I guess it's finally time to save up for that vault bundle. A bit later I finished Willie's request, dumped 100 pieces of bug meat into the bin, and fished for a few eels down by the beach. On this beautiful Friday morning I harvested the yams, opened a few geodes and mystery boxes at Clint's, where I was very lucky and got one single iridium ore from that one omni geode I found yesterday. Just what I needed. This allowed me to finish the boiler room, and with that I had the minecart system unlocked. Saturday was not very eventful. I commissioned a deluxe barn upgrade and completed the first bundle over at the forest market, which is exciting, but I can't do anything here yet. I'll have to come back tomorrow again. I had Marnie outside my door the next morning, asking for a cave carrot. Now Marnie is pretty important this time, as she has a very special book tied to her friendship level, and I need that ASAP. I took care of today's pumpkin harvest and then immediately rushed down to her ranch to deliver the carrot as well as a diamond. The pumpkin was the final crop missing for the fall bundle, and I was also able to complete the quality crops one, finishing the second room inside the community center. And you know what that means, I can now use the greenhouse on my farm. Well, not right now, but tomorrow. But the excitement doesn't stop there, as I had a new vendor waiting for me. This little blue mouse is also part of the Wildflower Artisan expansion, and here I can buy a variety of new products and even a produce packer, which I still haven't made yet. But I needed the Junimo gems for something else first, the Wisteria shop bundle. Upon completing this, I was rewarded with a Junimo catalog, which might even be better than the greenhouse, not gonna lie. I was so incredibly happy about this, I went straight back home and remodeled everything inside my tiny house. I cannot change the bed that I currently have, but I still think it looks a lot cuter now. Same as last time, I have Kisaa's Rustic greenhouse mod because I absolutely love this design and how customizable the building is. I was able to make 5 quality sprinklers with the remaining ingots that I had and started to plant a few ancient seeds as well as coffee beans. In town I accepted Louis's crop order, upgraded my hoe at Clint's, and also opened more mystery boxes while there. From this I got a second glow ring and the Book of Mysteries. The rest of the day was spent fishing by the river in hopes of finding a few walleyes, but despite being here for several in-game hours, I only ended up catching 1. The 16th of fall is always an exciting day, as it is the annual Stardew Valley fair. I didn't have a lot of iridium quality items at the moment, but I did have 1 bottle of ancient fruit wine and even a prismatic shard. This time I made sure to bring the correct amount of items for the Grange display, and I ended up winning with a rating of 106 points. Not too bad. Participated in some healthy gambling at the spinning wheel until I had enough tokens to afford all of the relevant items at the festival booth, like the prize ticket, the rare crow, and of course, the star drop. The prize ticket got traded in for a fancy new bed. Down at the beach I saw Willie, who was enjoying all of the bug meat I brought to him the other day, and he taught me a new crafting recipe, the quality bobber. At the market stall I met our newest vendor, and this purple mouse sells a variety of furniture catalogs. Not too interesting to me right now, as I still haven't even upgraded my house yet. I handed Marnie a birthday gift the next day, which pumped me up to 6 hearts with her. Finished the Florian's shop bundle by donating 11 Junimo gems, and then spotted a new fish at the Sunberry pond. Unfortunately, it disappeared before I could catch it, but at least I leveled up my fishing skill again. Friday morning I had Evelyn outside, who handed me a free garden pot and the recipe to craft more of them. I had a good chunk of money saved up by now and dumped most of it on the vault bundle, finishing the entire room. I also completed the foragers bundle from the bulletin board, and then I was hanging around the farm and started to lay down more paths. Now that I have the bus unlocked, it was finally time to go to the desert. It was a good luck day as well, so the perfect opportunity for a skull cavern trip. I introduced myself to Sandy and bought a few beet seeds from her shop, and I was very delighted to see that even in the desert there was a new forage waiting for me, like a calico pistachio and a wild cocoa pod. Of course I brought the prismatic shard with me, which I traded in for the beautiful galaxy sword. Despite it being a very good luck day, I only made it to floor 16, and even worse, I only found 2 iridium ore while down there. Not exactly the most successful first trip. I opened the geodes that I acquired yesterday, and I haven't talked about this at all, but I made almost no progress when it comes to the museum collection, both in Pelican Town and Sunberry. The minerals are fine, I think this is pretty normal compared to my other runs as well, but the artifacts on the other hand are non-existent at this point. I've gotten so unlucky with the dig spots so far, and I mostly either get stone or clay, almost never any artifacts. So I hope this will improve later on, or at least once I can trade my Omni Geodes for artifact throws. This was a pretty uneventful day. I had a nice chat with Jomana where we talked about her flower business, and I commissioned the first house upgrade. Other than that, I didn't do much else. But Monday was a lot more exciting. The sweet gemberry was done growing, and with that I acquired yet another star drop, increasing my max stamina even further. I accepted Demetrius' biome balance request and then rode all the way down to the Sunberry forest to hand Wildflower a birthday present. From her shop I purchased a star anise sapling as well as some cream from Rose, since I still haven't figured out how to make this myself. The new vendor at the forest market sells a ton of flower related items, and this was actually very useful at the moment since I still had 2 work crystals on my farm that I hadn't finished yet, and for that I needed tulips or jazz. The late evening was spent at the mountain lake to get started on the biome balance quest. On Tuesday I finished Lewis's crop order by shipping 100 cranberries, got 4 quality sprinklers from the ticket machine and upgraded my hoe to steel quality. Today was mostly spent in the Sunberry mine system. I felt confident enough to venture deeper now that I had the trusty galaxy sword, but even with that, the enemies here are so incredibly tanky and they also deal a ton of damage. Thankfully you can sprint past most of the monsters if you know the layout and where the ladders are located, so it wasn't too bad. I was very surprised to see iridium ore nodes on floor 13, and the first one that I mined dropped a prismatic shard. I would have come here a lot sooner had I known there was iridium ore just laying around on the lower areas. That's a little crazy. The house upgrade was done by Wednesday morning, and with that I now have access to the kitchen. I waited patiently for Robin to open, where once inside, commissioned a pawn from her. Purchased 2 sheeps from Marnie's, since I need their wool for different artisan machines, 2 heaters and also 1 auto grabber for the barn. I continued fishing by the lake and a little while later finished the biome balance request. On 81 I remembered that I can now purchase familiars from Wildflower, so I went down to her shop to check that out. Right now I only have access to crows, and weirdly enough they want a barn to live in, which doesn't really seem very crow-like to me, but okay. I ended up just buying 1 for now, since I want to have an own building dedicated for the familiars. When I walked back home to the farm, I saw Pam, who was just coming back from Suzu City. Now there's an expansion that I haven't played yet, and one of the passengers came out of the bus and ran straight into me, knocking both of us on our feet. The blue-haired kid apologized and immediately ran off towards town. Well, that was a little weird. What's even weirder is that my pockets felt a lot lighter all of a sudden, and indeed, when I checked my wallet, I had lost 10,000 gold. Oh boy. It said on the screen that he might be somewhere around town, and I did look in Pelican Town, but I had no luck with finding him. No idea where he went. The search continued the next day. I even checked in Sunberry Village, but still no sight of him. I upgraded my coop building so that I don't have to manually put in hay every single day during winter, and remembered the beeswax for Robin, which she requested a few weeks ago. After 4 PM I made my way towards Sunberry again, because today was the Twilight event. Everyone who owns a shop now has a little stall set up in the middle of town, and same as the Desert Festival, you can only trade items with 1 currency, and in that case, that's the Twilight Feathers. These feathers can be foraged around the valley all year around, but sadly I only had 39 in total because I didn't know about this event beforehand. I had such a hard time deciding on what I should spend my feathers on, as all of these shops were really good. Silas had a ton of different rings and ores for sale, Elias had artifacts and even prismatic shards, the Raya had food-related items that I needed for the community center, but I think Wildflower had the most interesting shop as she had fruit and flower saplings that I haven't seen anywhere else, but they were also very expensive. I ended up with 1 dwarf scroll and a strange doll from Elias, 1 plum pudding from the Raya, and 1 moss sapling from Wildflower, since these trees actually grow all year around. Day 83 was mostly spent chopping trees, in the Sinister forest and on the farm. The pond construction was done, where I put in an eel so that I can make spicy eel for future Skull Cavern runs. It was another festival evening and today was the Spirit's Eve. I do enjoy the different Halloween outfits that everyone has, but aside from the giant maze and the free golden pumpkin, there's not much to say about this event. And just like that, we have arrived on the final day of the season. I harvested any remaining crops on the field and I saw that the crow started to produce. These guys can bring a variety of different goods, like regular geodes, artifact troves, and even golden animal crackers, so I definitely want to buy more of them in the future. I upgraded the pig to iridium quality, finished the winter star bundle thanks to the plum pudding I acquired the other day, picked up the tulips from the greenhouse, and with those completed the Heartfield warp crystal on the farm. The evening was spent making more seeds for the greenhouse, and now I was ready for winter. Sort of. On the very first day of winter, I had Gunther waiting for me outside, who was here to hand me the sewer key. Even during winter, this place looks absolutely gorgeous. I might even like this more than fall. I made sure that my animals had it nice and cozy inside their buildings, maxed out my foraging skill while digging up a random warp totem, and then made my way over to Ari's shop to see if he had any new seeds that I could cultivate. He did have some cheap winter seeds, which I grabbed. Jumana had cyclamen flower seeds, and from Wildflower I got Avarlune seeds. I probably mispronounced all of that. I accepted Linus community cleanup because there's no way I can collect 1,000 pieces of wood in a single week since I chopped down most of the trees right before winter. And of course took the botanist profession for a guaranteed iridium quality forage. The community cleanup is probably one of the easiest requests, since you can just fish for trash on floor 100 inside the mines. The only fish that can spawn down here is the lava eel, and he has a very low chance to appear. Still, I managed to hook one after a minute of fishing and actually reeled it in on my first attempt. I did have a level 3 fishing buff going, so I'm not gonna pretend like this was skill related. After I was done with gathering 20 pieces of trash, I took care of the other mine related fish as well, like the ghostfish, stonefish, and ice pip. I had just enough time to collect the upgraded iridium pig and traded the prize ticket for Friendship 101, which increases the friendship gain when talking with everyone. On day 87, I received a fiber seed crafting recipe from Linus and finished the last warp bundle on the farm by donating 5 large goat milk. Well, that's at least 1 goal completed from the to-do list. Good job, me. I commissioned Robin for a second silo that day, bought 2 rabbits from Marnie since rabbit's food are a loved gift for almost everyone in town. And while I was handing out birthday presents in Sunberry, I saw Rose, who was marveling at Jumana's flower garden. Rose wanted to run away again as soon as she was noticed by other people, but Jumana told her that she doesn't have to be afraid of an old lady like her. This prompted Rose to introduce herself properly, and it's really lovely to see that she's finally making some friends around town. Maya had the menacing blade quest posted that day, and I accepted it because I knew that I wanted to go to the Skull Cave very soon. In fact, I wanted to do that today, but I had 0 luck on my side. It couldn't have been any worse than that. Instead, I focused my time on crafting more new artisan machines, like an alchemy table, since I finally had the cloth for that. This allows me to convert forage into more useful items, like this rust skill mushroom combined with 5 cinder leaves gave me 13 tree fertilizer. Pretty damn handy. Day 88 and also 89 were spent in the Skull Cave. I don't have much to report from those 2 trips, I was mostly just looking for ore and also coal. This allowed me to finally craft iridium sprinklers, 2 of which I placed inside the greenhouse where I have all of my coffee beans, and the rest of the iridium bars were spent on an axe upgrade. On Sunday I had a second pond finished on the farm, and I ended up placing the walleye in here, which was a terrible mistake. So remember during the end of fall when I was fishing for walleyes and I only managed to catch 1 during the entire season? I actually need 2 of those for the fish tank. 1 for the night fishing bundle and a gold quality one for the quality bundle. The thing is, walleyes only spawn during fall, and you can also catch them during winter, but only if you have a rain totem, which I simply cannot craft because I don't have any truffle oil. I thought to myself, oh, I can just place the walleye into the pond and they'll duplicate in there anyways. It's no big deal, right? Well, it turns out it actually is a big deal. See, any fish inside a pond will automatically lose any quality level. So yeah, I have an unlimited supply of walleyes now, but they don't have any quality level. Thus, I am unable to complete the community center this year.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
Yep, I know, it sucks. I know it shows here in the video that I haven't donated the largemouth bass either, but I have that. It's in one of my chests, and I just haven't donated it for some reason. I really didn't expect to have any trouble with the bundles this time, but here we are. Unless I can magically get my hands on truffle oil, or a rain totem in general, this is not doable this year. At this point, I haven't realized my mistake yet. I thought I was being smart for once, but oh well. On a more positive note, I spent the majority of my day in the Recolour mines to gather bat wings and also rubies, and actually found everything that I needed in that one single trip. I dropped off all of the materials at Silas's shop, and with that completed the Menacing Blade special order. Maya thanked me for gathering all of the stuff and said that I can even check out the weapon myself if I wanted to. Not today though, since it was the Festival of Ice. I think out of all of the events in Stardew Valley, this is my least favorite one. I don't know why, because I love Christmas and fishing, but this event is just kind of boring. I don't know. So moving over to something more exciting, I finished the winter foraging set the next day, and with that completed another room. Accepted the prismatic jelly from the wizard, as well as Jumana's flower order, and then went back to Silas's blacksmithing shop where I wanted to see the new blade. I was a bit confused at first since Silas's stock was unchanged, but that's when I finally noticed that I can also interact with Maya's weapon display. Could I always do that and I just haven't noticed that up until now? Either way, I was delighted to see that indeed I have a new weapon available now, the Baleful Blade. This thing has a whopping 50 to 100 damage, which is kinda wild, but unfortunately this is a dagger weapon, which is not my style at all. After that I started to look for the prismatic slime and surprisingly found it pretty quickly, like 2 in-game hours later. Before going to bed, I expanded the angel fruit field and I was blessed by 2 Junimos overnight, fixing up the bridge towards the quarry. On 94 I dropped off another diamond for Marnie and purchased a second auto-grabber for the coop. Moved the silos to a new location and started to work on another barn construction. This day was mostly spent on the farm, placing more paths, and I also had my first shed done by now, which is gonna be used for all of the new artisan machines. On Thursday I harvested the cyclamen flowers for Jumana, which I delivered to her shortly after. And today was when I found out that I won't be able to complete the community center this year. I was emptying the fish pond since I didn't need it more than 2 walleyes, and I realized my mistake. You live and you learn, I guess. To quench my sadness, I ended up buying the Way of the Wind Part 1 from Marcelo, and then fished down by the beach as it was the first day of the annual Squid Festival. Got my hands on all of the Iridium tier rewards, one of which was the Art of Crabbing. I don't really use crab pots all that much, but I still like to collect all of the different kinds of books. I skipped out on the event the next day and instead ventured into the Sunberry mine system. This time I made it all the way down to floor 16, which appears to be the final level. I started hearing strange sounds, and upon further inspection, they seem to come from this weird plant in the ground. I didn't really know what to make of it and went to get help from Ophelia and Maya, but they were just as clueless as I was. They ended up moving the seed to the surface so that the wizard can have a look at it as well. Before they left, Maya mentioned that I might even find a few interesting fish while down here, and I was really glad that she mentioned this because I didn't even think about that. I found a ton of garbage in the water, but eventually I did end up hooking a fish. I didn't manage to reel it in on my first attempt, also not on the second, but third time was the charm, and it was a legendary fish as well. I wasn't even maxed out in fishing yet, so that was a surprise for sure. Sunday was another geode and mystery box opening, and this finally gave me new items for the museum to donate, as well as for the Sunberry collection, and now I was only missing one blue aura quartz for the mineral section. The second shed construction was done by now, which will be used for any non-artisan machines aside from kegs and preserve jars. I almost never place my machines inside buildings. I always like to keep them close to my farmhouse, but on this map I can't really do that. I crafted a few more big chests since I was already running out of space, and made sure to stop by the night market later, where I spent a good penny on various decorations and seasonal plants. By Tuesday morning I was done with the new and improved chest area, and I was very happy with the results. I had a very interesting letter from Harvey with a coffee grinder recipe attached to it. This right here is a pretty cool machine as it transforms any fruit, nuts, or edible flowers into ground coffee, and it requires coffee beans as fuel, which is super easy for me as I already had a coffee production going. As I was looking around for Emily later, I finally spotted that blue-haired kid again who was hanging around in the startup saloon. When I confronted him about the stolen money, he acted like he didn't know anything about it and just said it was a force of habit. What? Yeah, I'm sorry about robbing you, I do that subconsciously sometimes. Like, is that what he's trying to say? Look, I'm not gonna make a fuss about 10,000 gold, even more so if you just wanted to have some food, but stealing is still wrong. As we were talking, the jukebox in the corner suddenly broke down, and it turns out the little kid knows how to handle tools and offered to take a look at it. Not even 10 seconds passed and he was done with repairing it. The kid keeps mentioning a boss of his, which is the main reason why he came to the valley in the first place, and just as I was about to ask what this boss looks like, John-Yuk entered the saloon, who is indeed the person in question. John-Yuk was visibly confused about seeing the kid again, who's known as Spanner by the way, and as they were talking, the jukebox bursted into flames, or rather exploded. The fire was put out quickly and thankfully nobody got hurt in the process. That was, one very strange cutscene. When I talked with Joe later, he mentioned that Spanner was one of the street urchins back when he used to live in Suzu City. He didn't have any parents nor any guardians, so he took him under his wing, which made me feel bad about him, but then he mentioned that Spanner used to break into his apartment, which is a little concerning, not gonna lie. The following day I completed the field research and children's bundle, checked the vendors at the night market, and fished inside the submarine. I found a pearl, which I didn't even know was possible, and somehow even managed to catch an octopus. That goes into the pond. On Thursday I downloaded 2 more aesthetic mods. First up is animated duck crab pots, and honestly I don't know how I've never heard of this before. Look how adorable these guys are. So cute. And second is Gwen's medieval craftables. Though I have the retexture turned off for most of the items in the game, but I thought for the decorations and also the signs behind the chests, it matches nicely with this. By now I figured out how to make my own cream, and by figured out I mean that I googled it, which is by simply putting milk inside a mayo machine. I can then put the cream inside the coffee brewer along with any ground coffee beans and create my own lattes. One of the lattes I donated towards the bundle at the forest market along with some beer and a few Junimo gems. When I picked up my ancient fruit lattes later, I noticed how profitable coffee brewers actually are. One regular quality ancient fruit latte sells for almost 3,700 gold. Now that's crazy. I know I said that about a lot of things during the span of this video, but this right here takes the cake. So for reference, ancient fruit wine sells for 2,300 gold with the artisan profession. So yeah, I think I have a new late game moneymaker. And I'm so happy that for once it's not wine production, because I am really tired of that by now. On Saturday I visited the quarry for the first time and collected all of the wood, stone, ores and coal that I could find. It's always so satisfying to clear out the quarry in one go. Once I was done with that, I made my way towards the quarry mine, where inside I had a new guy waiting for me, or rather a ghost. I completely forgot that I have a mod installed that adds new trinkets. Obviously this is not relevant for me right now as I don't even have combat maxed out yet, but I am beyond excited to test all of these out later on. I sprinted to the other side of the cave where I picked up the golden scythe and then cleaned up the farm for the remainder of the evening. 105 marks the day of my best Skull Cave trip, so far at least. I found so many treasure floors, the highlights being a seed maker and a freaking auto petter. This also made me realize that it's high time to get my hands on that last bag upgrade, which I did the following morning. Shortly after, I accepted Clint's Cave Patrol quest and purchased the triple shot espresso recipe from Gus. I had a look at the new vendor over at the forest market, and this adorable looking badger has an unlimited supply of coffee brewers and grinders. Just what the doctor ordered. I got 2 of each as well as 1 tea kettle. When I walked into Sunberry Village, I saw that every single townie, as well as Rasmodius, gathered in front of Jumana's flower shop, where we had a look at this weird seedling that I found in the mines the other day. Silas and Raz have been studying it for a few days now, and they think it might be a variant of the purple sunberries. According to some old books, the sunberries were the final blessing of the goddess, and this might be connected to Dr. Saharia's research, who was the person in charge of the Sunberry Museum, but that's just a theory from Elias. Right now there's not much we can do here, as the plant doesn't seem to require any special kind of care, so we agreed to meet back here again in a week from now on. The Sunberry Special Order Board also had a few requests waiting for me, and I took Maya's crop quest, since I can easily combine that with the one from Clint. I planted the few tea saplings that I had inside the greenhouse and moved all of my coffee related machines in here as well. On Tuesday I purchased some wheat flour from Pierce, and with that I had all the necessary items to finish the home cook bundle, completing the bulletin board. I gave Elias and Leah a birthday gift, and then I was busy in the mines looking for those grubs. I know I've been complaining about the monster related quests, but then I realized I need the combat XP anyways. I'm still 2 levels away from maxing that out. On 108 I made more iridium sprinklers and swapped those out with the regular ones outside. While remodeling the fields, I decided to get rid of the giant forest lavender as well, since I like to have the giant crops in a different area. By now I also had enough hardwood accumulated to fix up the old stump next to Marnie's ranch. Upon completing the bulletin board, you'll receive a friendship boost with every single villager, and this prompted Linus to send me a new book the next day, being the Alleyway Buffet Part 2, which gives me a small chance to find any gems in trash cans. But more importantly, I had max hearts with Marnie now, and for this I got the Dairy Mastery, which is exactly what I wanted. This modded book makes milk and cheese 20% more valuable. I'm really trying to get away from the ancient fruit wine production, as I always end up doing this in every single run and it's so boring. So I'm hoping that this is reliable when it comes to late game money making, but we'll see. Today was the Feast of Winterstar, and I had Cho as my secret gift receiver, whom I handed one of my precious triple shot espressos. Ripley was my secret gift friend, and from her I got 10 Deluxe Speed Grow, which is actually a really decent gift. I need that for the greenhouse, so thanks Ripley. On Friday I had yet again more letters in my mailbox, and one of which was from Pam with an ale keg crafting recipe. This is something that I definitely want to try out, but it's so incredibly expensive to craft, so I'll wait with that. I said hello to the little raccoon who moved into the new treehouse, then I checked the quarry where I got very lucky and found 1 topaz node, which was the last item that I needed for Maya's battle axe request. Since I didn't really know what else to do, I started a Mr. Cheese quest by donating 1 battery pack to this box inside the tunnel, the rainbow shell up by the train tracks, placing 10 beads inside the mayor's fridge, and lastly the solar essence for the sand dragon. While I was at the desert, I purchased a few starfruit seeds from Sandy, picked up the club card next to my house, and planted the starfruit inside the greenhouse. The new year was right around the corner, and I wanted to be prepared for the next season as best as I can. so I spent pretty much the entire following 2 days on the farm. I swapped out any remaining quality sprinklers with iridium ones, and I was very pleased with the new and improved field. I crafted 2 more frequency extractors for the artisan shed, since these are relatively cheap machines and perfume sells for a nice chunk of money. And here we are on day 112, the final day of this year. For the last time I checked the traveling card, and I've been doing this for the past in-game weeks, but sadly I didn't have any luck with truffle oil nor with any rain totems. So the community center remains unfinished, for now at least. The second barn was completely upgraded by now, and I originally wanted to use this building for familiars, but I still only had crows unlocked. So instead of familiars, I ended up buying 12 cows and 2 pigs, but the cows are more important. See, in order to keep my latte empire going, I need a ton of cream, so I'm hoping that these 12 cows are enough for a steady cream supply, but we'll see next year. The first day of the new year is always incredibly busy. First I accepted Pam's special order for potato juice, as well as Aicha's dessert delivery. This was easier than I thought it would be, since I was able to buy almost everything at the nearby cafe. 1 cookie, a maple bar, pink cake, and the chocolate cake I already had back at home. I grabbed a couple of potato, garlic, and cauliflower seeds from Ori's place, and then went to check out the new battle axe from Maya. So why exactly was this day so busy for me? Well, I witnessed about 20 different cutscenes in the middle of all of that, so I'm gonna quickly go over the important ones. First I saw Daria training the cats inside the cafe. Diala gave me a free tarot reading where she talked about my career. Then I saw Iman hanging around an abandoned barn inside the forest. I asked her if this was her building, but she didn't really give me an answer and then just left after that.
Bye, have a great time!
Right next to the abandoned barn was Aicha, who was arguing with the raccoon over an apple. Wildflower intervened and told both of them that this orchard only works if everyone shares the fruits equally. But she quickly noticed that the apple they were fighting over is not as normal as it appears to be. She ended up taking the apple herself, since she believes that it might have some magical properties, and this started a new quest for me where I have to gather magical fruits for her. Lastly, I had a bunch of cutscenes with Moon, which were the most important ones. The crowd has spoken and you guys voted for Moon to be my roomie. That's right, no marriage for me this time. I'm gonna embrace the bachelor lifestyle for once. Currently, I'm sitting at almost 7 hearts with her, and I downloaded the event lookup mod since I haven't seen a single cutscene with her, and you need to watch all of those before she can move in. Moon is quite the interesting character, as she has a whole storyline tied to her heart events, and today I learned that she aspires to become an astrologer. And the reason why she crashes at Diala's and Daria's place is because Diala has a telescope in her room, and she's also into astrology herself. Well, kind of at least. Yeah, because I think it's interesting that I can see Moon, or Junimos in general, but these two can't, since Diala, at least, since she can use the alchemy table, but I don't think that they can see Moon either. So that's interesting. Just as I was talking to myself, wondering if the girls even know that they have a Junimo living inside their house, Diala suddenly jumped into the air as she saw Moon standing just a few feet away from her. I wasn't paying attention at first, but it turns out that Diala found an old potion recipe and she tried it out today, and upon drinking it, the concoction somehow allows people to see Junimos. Both of them were understandably shocked at first, but after Moon explained why she's here, Diala said that she was allowed to stay and she will help Moon learn from now on, which is incredibly sweet. Getting Moon to max hearts is gonna be a top priority for me, so this goes onto the to-do list. And while we're here, I want to talk about the other goals that I have for now as well. As we all know, I still need the walleye for the community center, but I'll have to wait with this until fall, so there's not much I can do about this right now. However, I can already prepare a few things in advance. For example, I can already craft a rain totem so we don't have to wait for it to naturally start raining. I can also start by gathering the materials for Willy's boat repair, 200 pieces of hardwood, the 5 battery packs, and 5 iridium bars. And lastly, I want to max out the remaining skills, being fishing and combat, to gain access to the Mastery Cave. And that's all of the goals for the first 2 in-game months. I planted the seeds once I was back on the farm. After that I grabbed a chocolate cake from one of my chests and dropped everything off at Icha's kitchen counter. And that concludes a very busy first day of spring. Tuesday morning started off with a smaller ancient fruit harvest. I started to work on a 3rd barn construction, and then I made my way towards Sunberry, where I saw a few of the townies gathered around the little seedling. Since our last meeting, it seemed to have grown a bit, and Ophelia pointed out that it only grew when I was around. But Elias said that the plant might also be connected to all of us, and not only to me. This updated my journal once again, and it now reads that I have to strengthen my bond with the villagers even further to help the seedling grow. Easy enough, since I need to befriend everyone anyways. I spent most of this day and also Wednesday in the Sunberry mine system to look for mineral nodes, but also to level my combat skill. I discovered that I can now use the minecarts down here, which instantly takes me to the lowest level, where I can simply take the ladder up to floor 15, giving me easy access to iridium ore, which is kinda OP, not gonna lie. I handed Eamon and Kent a birthday present, and then I was once again busy with spelunking. This time in the regular mines, in search of the yellow dwarf scroll. I don't know why I'm always so unlucky with these. I feel like I have to look for at least one in every single playthrough. Oh my god. No, that's not the one that I need. Damn it. I gave up on the search shortly after and instead ventured into the Sunberry forest, where I found a new fish. An eel-tailed catfish. After a little while I maxed out my fishing skill and I decided to go for the pirate profession this time, since fishing is not exactly a primary income for me. My latte production was in full swing by now. I have a really nice supply of cream from all of those cows I bought last year. It's actually more than I can use at the moment, so money is not gonna be an issue for a while. I showed Elias the eel-tailed catfish as well as the aberrant that I found in the mines, and I love how he even has unique dialogue lines for the legendary fish. Very nice detail. While in the area I made sure to drop off a gift from Moon, and after that I was once again busy in the mines looking for the dwarf scroll. Oh my god. Yes! Ah, thank god, that didn't take long at all. I immediately added that to the museum collection, and with all of the scrolls found, I obtained the Dwarvish translation guide. Pretty important item, as I need this to be able to communicate with the dwarf. He's one of the many characters that I need to befriend for perfection, and he also has an interesting shop. The safety manual, which reduces damage taken from bombs, the weathered floor crafting recipe, another recro, and an unlimited supply of bombs. Elias thanked me for all of the work I've been putting into the fish compendium. It's over halfway completed by now, and for that he rewarded me with a curiosity lure, which is a very welcome gift since this is one of the very few tackles that cannot be bought from shops. I just had enough hardwood logs to commission the second house upgrade from Robin. The hoe was put in for an upgrade as well, and the last stop for the day was the alchemist's house, where I dropped off 5 Eversweet pomegranates, which is from the special fruit tree that I got from the Twilight event last year, finishing Wildforest's request for magical fruit. Sunday morning I was busy with harvesting my taters, most of which got placed into kegs for Pam's special order. I said hello to our raccoon friend, who somehow already managed to find himself a wife. Good for you, buddy. This time he wanted dried cherries and cactus fruit jelly, which reminded me there was still a couple of fruit saplings that I haven't even bought yet. Fruit saplings are very expensive though, so I only bought a cherry and apricot one for now. After going to bed that day, I had a midnight visit from the crop fairy. I never really know how to feel about this random event. On one hand, it's of course nice that the crops are fully grown, but on the other, it's only a small portion of the entire field, and if I harvest these now, it's gonna look ugly. You know what I mean? On 120, I had a letter from Wildflower in my mail, thanking me for finishing another request, and this unlocked a brand new familiar, Toads. Now speaking about requests, I accepted Gunther's Fragments of the Past, and also keeping up with the Hat Bats from Ren. She wants to give her garden a little makeover, and for that I have to donate some wood, stone, and a few different kinds of flower seeds and plants. The speedball seeds were purchased from Jomana, and then I had a look at the new familiars over at the alchemist's place. Toads have a wide variety of goods they can bring, like moss, slime, and various types of mushrooms. I purchased 2 of them, and while I don't really care about the mushrooms, the slime and also the moss is gonna come in handy later when I want to craft the Statue of Blessing. I really wish the familiars had different skins. They all look the same. That would be cute. Yeah, so all of the familiars do actually have different colors, which you can see by pressing these arrows right next to the animal. I just haven't realized it yet, but I will very soon. I spent a few in-game hours down in the Sunberry mine system since I was waiting for another cutscene with Moon, and during that I somehow managed to find 3 prismatic shards in the span of like 2 minutes. One from an iridium ore node, the second from a mystery node, and one from a slime. Oh my god, what is this? I've been here for like 2 in-game hours and I found 3 prismatic shards. What? Yeah, if I happen to have any of the mod creators watching, you might want to tone down on the iridium ore nodes on the lower levels, because this seems a little busted. Anyways, the cutscene I've been waiting for required me to visit Moon later in the day, since she wants to look at the stars during nighttime. As mentioned before, Diala has a telescope in her room, but Moon is just a little too short to reach it, so of course I helped her out with that. On Tuesday morning I woke in a much bigger house and it was looking a little bit weird at the moment, so it was time to redecorate in here. For this I visited the Purple Mouse at the Forest Market, where I treated myself and bought the HXW Plant Lovers Furniture catalog. I sold all of my lattes directly to Pierre, where I got the Millionaire achievement and casually made over 70,000 gold. Though most of this was already gone within a few seconds, since I wanted to have the catalog so that I can change wallpapers and floorings, and I also grabbed the very expensive dehydrator crafting recipe. And you know how it is, I spent the rest of the day, as well as Wednesday, decorating my new home. This is the Moon placeholder, until she moves in.
Several days later.
Alright, I think I'm done in here. That didn't take too long actually. I love the Plant Lovers Furniture catalog. I mean, just look at it. Yeah, I was amazed, and I still am, how well this furniture pack is made. I already mentioned this in another video, but I'm really picky when it comes to furniture mods, but this right here is perfection. It's right up my alley and I love it. After I was done with decorating, I realized I kind of forgot about Gunter's request, or rather I didn't care about it up until now, but it can't be helped, I need to finish all of the special requests sooner or later anyways. So I started on collecting the bones that day. The bookseller was back in town, and this time I got The Way of the Wind Part 2 and Beginner's Luck, which gives me a very minor permanent luck buff. I dropped off 12 potato juice for Pam, as well as any of the remaining materials for Ren, finishing both of those orders. Same as yesterday, I was busy with gathering bone fragments in the mines, which I also finished not too long after. Oh. Hey Linus, is this the bait cutscene? Yep, it sure is. Ew. After this very interesting cutscene, I visited the Adventure Guild and obtained mapping cave systems. On Friday I ventured into the sewers for the first time and said hello to Krobus. I bought the solar essence he had, the iridium sprinkler, 1 void egg, and the 2 crafting recipes. I'll come back for the startup in a bit. I had a couple more donations to add to the collection and finish Gunter's requests while there. As I was running around in Sunberry, I made sure to check out Ren's new yard, which is very adorable. I like it. And 3 seconds later I saw Ren herself, who was admiring a gem bird up by the mountain lake. Hopefully I'll be able to spot more of those once I can go to Ginger Island. Later in the evening I came across Moon, who was hanging around at the Pelican Beach. She was a bit down and asked herself if she made the right choice by staying in Sunberry and leaving all of her Junimo friends behind. I firmly believe that this was indeed the right choice because sometimes you just have to be selfish and follow your own dreams. As cheesy as this may sound, it's true. Make sure to like and subscribe for more quality life advice from yours truly. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm not gonna say that again. I promise. The reason why I bought the solar essence earlier was so that I can finally craft an iridium band, which I did. I completed the second delivery for the raccoon, which earned me the raccoon's journal, and before going to bed I picked up my very first truffle. The following morning I had Diala and Daria at my front door, thanking me for being such a supportive friend towards Moon. They even handed me a homemade poppy seed muffin for that. I admired my newly sprouted giant cauliflower and then made my way into town to participate in the daily activities. The egg hunt is not so relevant this year. The only reason why I'm here was for the sweet strawberry seeds. The plush bunny, lawn flamingo, and I simply cannot pass on a few seasonal plants. I love placing these everywhere on the farm. 126 was spent in the Skull Cave. Before that I traded my jade for staircases and bought a few starfruit seeds from Sandy. I found 2 prehistoric floors while down there and slayed about 20 pepper eggs, if not more, but not a single one dropped a dino egg. I did get a decent amount of ore and even a prismatic shard, so I can't really complain about this trip. The 15th of spring marks the very first day of the Desert Festival, and you know what that means, more Skull Cave shenanigans. I absolutely love this mini event. There's new vendors every day that sell different kinds of items, silly mini games, and most importantly, new drip from Emily. Alright Emily, let's see what you got. And I'm Sal. I mean, low-key, kinda cute. I accepted the deep dive challenge from Marlon, which was very easy to complete, got the egg rating from Jill, and went to bed with over 200 eggs collected. Unfortunately, I was pretty unlucky with the vendors during the event. First I had Jody and Vincent, then Sebastian and Alex, and finally Clint and Caroline. And none of these have any good items for sale. I did end up taking the exotic palace from Caroline, but I don't think that I'm ever gonna use this because I have so many furniture mods installed. On the bright side, I did find that dinosaur egg, and at last maxed out my combat skill. During those 3 days, I collected my first batch of starfruit latte, and I believe this is the best-selling latte you can make. The value is quite steep compared to the ancient fruit one. It sells for almost 8,500 gold more, which is almost broken I want to say, but don't worry, I'm way too lazy to replant starfruit seeds, so I'm not gonna abuse this. Even though ancient fruit latte is also completely busted, so I might need to tone down on that as well. The following day I upgraded the second coop building that I commissioned a while ago and visited the Mastery Cave for the first time. Though I'm not really sure why I did this, not like I can do anything here yet. I need to accumulate at least 8,000 XP before I can actually select a mastery. In the meantime I put in my watering can for an iridium makeover. At the forest market I saw that the Badger vendor had a few new machines in stock, like lemonade stands, kitchen blenders, and ale kegs. The kegs are not so different from the vanilla ones that we have, though they do need hops as fuel, so I'm gonna plant a few of those in a greenhouse once summer arrives. The lemonade stand needs lemon as fuel, and the blender doesn't need anything. They can turn any fruit into delicious smoothies. Of course, I'm not gonna mention every single machine that I make. I might end up making an own video dedicated for that mod, just because there's so much to talk about. 131 and 32 were mostly spent in the Sunberry mine system. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but during the first in-game year I had a cutscene with Moon where I showed her the moonberry that I had in my inventory, and she told me that I can exchange these at the seed maker next to Jomana's shop for moonberry seeds. At that time I had to donate the moonberry towards the museum collection to be able to finish it, and I haven't found a second one ever since. Moonberries have a chance to be dropped from those buff yellow looking enemies in the mines, so that was my goal for now. I didn't have any luck that day, but I did finish the last bundle over at the forest market, rewarding me with a mini fridge. But on Saturday I found what I was looking for. I rushed over to the seed maker and this gave me one single moonberry seed. Man, I really hope that this is worth it. Yeah, I have no idea if this was actually worth the effort, since I won't be planting this for quite a while, and they also take almost an entire season to fully mature, so we'll see. Next day I took care of the strawberry harvest, moved the toads inside the newly upgraded coop, which allowed me to place the dino egg inside the incubator now that I had more space for more animals. I picked up the new and improved iridium watering can, and with that I had all of my tools fully upgraded now, minus the trash can and the pan. While there I opened the artifact troves and geodes that I had with me, from which I got the treasure appraisal guide. Walking into Sunberry shortly after, I saw that the seedling was growing again, and this happens at least once every week, so I'm not gonna mention this anymore until it's fully grown. I spent about 2 minutes inside the local mineshaft, where I was very lucky and almost instantly found what I was looking for: one piece of blue aura quartz, which was the last mineral that I needed to finish the first part of the Sunberry Museum collection. Of course I donated it right away and received 20,000 gold as a reward. Over at the forest market I got acquainted with our newest vendor, and this fancy looking hedgehog specializes in various sweets and brand new machines. I ended up buying 2 blast chillers, candy jars, marshmallow mixers, and sugar boilers. All of these are gonna be a main part of my income later. After this I tracked down Moon, who was hanging around Marnie's place, and I gifted her a diamond, and with that I finally maxed out my friendship meter with her. Just as expected, I had a letter from Elias waiting for me the following morning, thanking me for finishing the mineral section, and we can now move over to the artifacts. I don't know why I say we, I'm doing all of this on my own after all. Marcella was back in town again, and this time I bought big melons, which increases the likelihood of growing giant crops, and the old slither legs, which allows me to walk faster through crops and weeds. I visited Elias after that, where we had a chat about the next step regarding the museum. He wants to split the artifact search into 2 parts, and just like with the minerals, I need to find 6 artifacts, 2 of which I already had, so I dropped those off. I'm not gonna stress with this too much, since I can easily obtain these from artifact troves, and on that note, I bought 2 more crows, since basically all of my artifact trove supply comes from those. Speaking about familiars, while gathering hardwood later, I came across Wildflower, who was once again out foraging. This time she found a rare moondrop plant, which is the favorite snack of her little Junimo companion, Sprout, who we can see sometimes sitting on her shoulder. There he is, he's so cute! This added a new quest to my journal, and this was super easy as all she wanted was feathers, which I had plenty of. I dropped those off right away, and later in the evening I made my way towards the mountain, where I spotted Moon outside of Robin's place. For some reason this cutscene got lost in my notes, and I mixed this up with the beach cutscene we saw last time, but this is her 10 heart event, and now I can ask her to move in. Upon harvesting my ancient fruit on Tuesday, I reached my first mastery level. On my way to the cave I spotted Shane, who was not doing so well, to say the very least. Had to make a quick trip to the clinic, gotta take care of your local neighbors of course. Back in the Sinister forest I completed another delivery for the raccoon, and I ended up with the combat mastery as my first unlock. Okay, I know this is super controversial, but hear me out. I already have the golden animal crackers because of the crows. I have more that I can use actually. The iridium scythe would be really nice, and also the statue of blessing of course, but I really want to try out the new trinkets that I have installed. Most of my current savings were spent on the animal catalog, 2 heaters, and 1 more auto grabber. I dropped off a dozen eggs at the saloon, completing Gus's famous omelette special request, and then fished by the mountain lake for a while, which I haven't done in a hot minute. I'm not very focused on fishing this time, but I did thankfully remember to catch the legend, and I was really glad I thought about this because this was the last day where it was raining during spring. Once I caught the legend, I visited our ghostly friend in the quarry to take a look at his stock once more. My first target was the fuzzy coal, but for this I first have to get my hands on more coal to trade. A lot of coal. Since I was low on money again, I ended up selling all of my stored lattes, various smoothies, perfumes, and any other artisan products that I've been hoarding over the past few weeks. And just like that, I made over 300,000 gold. Wildflower sent me 2 letters on Wednesday, one where she mentioned that I can now adopt cat familiars, very excited to check that out, and the other where she reminded me about the propagation station I unlocked a while ago. Thankfully, I had all of the materials to craft one, and I was a little confused at first on how this thing works, because I thought this would function like a seed maker, but eventually I figured it out. Here I can craft magical flower seeds, saplings, and anything that has magic in the item description. This machine is not so interesting right now, but it will be very soon. Today was the annual flower dance, and at first I wanted to skip out on the event and do something else, but then I remembered there's a rare crow that I didn't buy last year, as well as the top of flower crafting recipe. Wait, can I ask Moon to be my dance partner? No, I can't. That would have been hilarious. Just me dancing by myself. Since Moon was too shy to accept my invitation, I ended up asking Elias. God, I look so out of place. Everyone has these nice costumes and then it's just me with my silly cat ears. The next morning I had another strawberry harvest to take care of, picked up the first batch of smoothies from the artisan shed, and same as the lattes, they also sell for a decent amount of money. And speaking about money, I dumped almost 100,000 gold on Clint's coal supply. Ouch! That was expensive. A lot more expensive than I thought it would be. Like, seriously, why is one single piece of coal worth 250 gold? That is not acceptable, Clint. Okay, so I have max hearts with her, and this hopefully works. Yes! Oh, it's the marriage dialogue that she has, the wedding dialogue. Yeah, so obviously I had to look this up on the wiki because there's no way I would have figured this out on my own. If you want Moon to move in with you, you need to have max hearts with her, and then you can give her a lunarite mineral. I just wanted to mention this quickly in case I have someone watching who also wants to have her as a roomie, so there you go. After this I saw Wildflower, who was being visited by Jazz and Amina. Long story short, they were out playing in the woods, lost track of time, and couldn't find their way home anymore. Suddenly a path of flowers appeared before them and showed them the way out. Now Wildflower thinks, and I quote, it might have been a wee fairy who was playing a prank on them. Doesn't really sound much like a prank to me, but rather a good deed, considering that both of the kids were lost in the forest. This prompted a new quest to appear in my journal, and this time Wildflower wants 5 magical flowers. Before I get to that, I wanted to check out the new familiars. Same as the crows, cats live in barns, and they can bring bat wings, different kinds of feathers, and 2 other items that I haven't seen before. Please welcome Nargacuga, Malzino, and Magnamalo. This was a pretty busy day because right after purchasing the new familiars, I ran all the way up to Robin's place and commissioned another house upgrade from her. The coal that I bought earlier from Clint was spent on the fuzzy coal trinket, and boy, this was so worth the money. And equip that. Oh my god, look at him, he's so cute. This adorable little dust sprite breaks nearby rocks every 10 seconds, and while doing that, also grants a plus 20 attack buff, indicated by this cute symbol right here. I will have to say it is a little annoying to look at when you're just standing still as he's just bouncing all over the place, so I unequipped it for now and I'm gonna put it back on once I do more spelunking again. 138 and 39 were mostly spent on the farm. I decided to completely remove the tree farm that I had over here, which took so incredibly long because of all of the stepping stones I had laid down here. I moved the tappers to my original tree farm area next to the artisan shed, which is very tiny, but I don't need any resin right now anyways. And instead of the tapper farm, I redesigned this plot into a 3rd crop area. And yes, I absolutely stole this heart design from the mod creator, and I hope they don't mind. Also, can we talk about how cute the cat familiars are? All of the familiar designs are so well made, but the cats especially just are adorable. I harvested the starfruit inside the greenhouse, planted that one single moonberry seed that I had, along with some marshmallow and hops for various artisan machines. And lastly, I remodeled the entrance area in front of the house. I didn't really like how the wooden path was looking, it was a bit too chaotic, and I think with just the stone variant, it looks a bit cleaner now. Sunday was a very special day because Moon finally moved in with me. It's been a hot minute since I had Krobos as a roommate, so this was genuinely exciting for me. Life became just a little sweeter now. Also, her room design is so fitting. I wasn't really sure what to expect, but the wizard furniture and Junimo wall pieces match really nicely with the rest of the house. I didn't really do much today. I harvested the last spring crops, chopped down any hardwood trees on the farm, and I saw that Robin was done with the cellar construction. Usually I would be really excited about this since casks are a big moneymaker in any regular run, but with all of the new artisan machines that I have, I didn't really care about this. So the cellar will be ignored for now. I had plenty of other stuff to focus on. It is day 141 and Moon was already complaining about the summer heat, which is so relatable by the way. I dislike hot weather as well. You know the drill, I cleaned up the field, bought the new summer seeds, so on and so forth. Once I was done with buying the seeds, I wanted to return through the forest section next to Wildflower's place, and I accidentally wandered inside yet another hidden waterfall cave. And thank god I did, because I didn't even notice was here. Inside I found Wildflower and Rose, who were of course foraging in here. With this cutscene I acquired the final quest from Wildflower, which was for delivering magical mushrooms. And conveniently there was a ton of mushrooms inside this cave. Some of the modded items have rather interesting item descriptions, like this seafoam wax cap reads, "Mermaids would offer these to troublesome sailors who wouldn't leave them alone." That's pretty heavy metal shit, not gonna lie. The request for mushrooms was so much easier than the one for flowers since I already had more than enough kinds of different mushrooms. So after I planted everything at home, I wanted to immediately finish this delivery, but unfortunately it wouldn't let me donate any of the shrooms. So I had to finish the one for magical flowers first, which was kinda problematic since I only found one so far, but that's a problem for future me. At this point in the game, I was convinced that my rabbits were bugged. They've been living inside the same building for about 3 in-game seasons and have yet to drop a single rabbit's foot. I know this is a rare item, but still, this seems a little ridiculous. On my way towards the Sunberry Mountain, I was very lucky and found more magical flowers, and since I was hanging around the local mine system, I got to test out the new Dust Sprite Trinket. And just as expected, it's extremely useful. The attack buff is especially really handy, and it also shakes nearby trees, which is pretty cool. I removed any trees on the path towards the Sunberry Forest since this is a prime spot for forage spawns, and I'm hoping that this increases the chance of me finding magical flowers. In the late evening, I wanted to hand out a few gifts at the saloon, where I spotted Gus presenting his famous giant omelette. Every single time when I see this cutscene, it makes me wonder, how does one even make an omelette of this size? I mean, look at it. It's as big as the table. On Wednesday morning I had a very intriguing letter from Wildflower, letting me know that I can now use the propagation station to craft my own mushroom starters. And I thought at first it meant that I can just make, you know, regular mushroom seeds, but actually these are trees. Brand new mushroom trees. I was so incredibly excited when I saw this, you have no idea. I love the regular mushroom trees that we have in the vanilla game, so you know I need to get at least one of every single type. Before checking that out, I went inside the mines again for a few hours, where I finished a Slayer request for Ophelia, and once again I had luck on my side today and found more magical flowers while in the area. I dropped off 5 of those at Wildflower's place, as well as 5 mushrooms, completing both of the requests. Now back to the important matters, mushroom trees. See, all of these saplings require 25 hardwood each, which is a little problematic because I don't have any natural hardwood stumps on the farm, like you would on the forest map for example. So all of my hardwood supplies only comes from the trees that I plant on my own, and mahogany trees take forever to mature. I know there's also the secret woods, but that's too far away and too little hardwood you get each day. At this point, I don't even have the required amount for Willie's boat repair, which is gonna be 200 pieces of hardwood. So the mushroom trees will have to wait a bit, but that goes onto the to-do list because I definitely want to craft at least one of every type. I already have a coral fungus sapling, which is from the pink tree that I showed all the way in the beginning of year 1, so that only leaves 13 mushroom starters left. I laid out a couple more spots for future fish ponds, and next to the silos I started to work on a potential future mushroom tree area. On Thursday I remodeled the newly upgraded artisan shed. I crafted myself a wax cauldron, which was a complete waste because I haven't even figured out how to make dried flowers yet. I bought a couple more machines from Rose's shop, like a pie counter, cake counter, rolling pin, and anything that has to do with baking. It's still very empty in here, but it's gonna slowly fill up over the seasons. I sold all of the accumulated artisan products that day, aside from any lattes, and I was very happy to see that pretty much any machine can bring in a decent amount of money, which I really like. I thought coffee brewers were busted, and they kinda are, but it's not like you have to focus on one single artisan machine to make a good amount of money. Smoothies, gumballs, and marshmallows are just as lucrative as lattes. Yet again, I had more letters from Wildflower the next day informing me about 2 new familiars I can get, foxes and bees. Foxes bring a variety of different berries, and bees can bring honey, flowers, and even flower seeds. I need to expand my barn again to be able to buy foxes, so for now I only got a few bees. I spent my hard-earned money on 2 stacks of wood from Robin, one of which got immediately traded in for the stick trinket. This little guy functions similar to the fairy trinket, where it recovers a small amount of HP on successive attacks, and I also love how silly he looks. Waking up on Saturday morning, I had a new message pop up in the left corner of the screen that read, "Pip and Pep have set up a shop in the Sunberry mines." Of course I had to check this out immediately, and sure enough, on the lowest level of the mines, I had a little guy waiting for me. Pip and Pep only show up 3 times every month, and only during very specific luck conditions, which I'm too lazy to look up right now, but simply put, a visit from them is very rare. And even rarer are the goods they're selling. I mean, 5 prismatic shards for only 600 gold is crazy. I bought almost every item they had in stock, and even the 2 books for the free mastery XP. After I was done with shopping, I made a detour towards the Pelican Mine system to start on a quest for the wizard. I think this was the very first time ever that I went mining during the Green Rain event. Even all the way down here you can see the green particles on the screen, which is a very nice detail. 147, I welcomed my first dino to the farm. Everyone say hello to Anja. Please don't eat any of my chickens. I've been having the stick trinket on and off ever since I bought it, and this thing is absolutely busted. He will sprint with lightning speed towards any bush, tree, or forage on the ground, and just automatically pick it up, which is very satisfying to look at. I had another geode and treasure trove opening session where I got 6 moonberry seeds and finally some new artifacts to donate. Thanks to the green rain, I had a good chunk of hardwood logs to start crafting a few of the mushroom saplings. Same as with the dehydrator, you need to have the same quality mushroom for the machine to register it. And with the limited amount of shrooms that I had, I made 1 frilly jelly, 1 ruskill, and 1 seafoam wax cap starter. All of these were planted in the smaller area that I prepared a while ago. Robin was done with the barn upgrade by now, which allowed me to purchase a few foxes, and with that I had every type of familiar on my farm. When I wanted to check out the Sunberry special order board, I saw that all of the townies gathered once again in front of the flower shop because the mystery plant has fully matured and bore fruit. Ophelia and Silas came to the conclusion that this must be a variant of the so-called summer sunberry, and the berries it produces are golden. Since I was the one who originally found the plant, I was allowed to have a share of the first harvest. No idea what to do with these golden sunberries. They are very valuable, but I was told to hold on to these, so I'm not gonna sell them right away. I accepted Maya's new sword quest and then ventured into the mines to get started on gathering materials, but I was mostly just here to look for forage. There's a few mushrooms that can only spawn down here, like these fluffy looking Luna poofs. The flower field was in full bloom by day 149 and it was absolutely beautiful to look at. I don't know why I didn't remove any of the sprinklers at this point, since this was mainly just for honey production, but oh well. I dropped off some freshly made radish juice and pickled corn for the raccoon. Sounds really gross, but that's what he wanted. Then visited my favorite bookseller where I got the horse book, winter forestry, optimized StardewValley Plus, though I have no idea what this book does, and magnetism mastery. I fished up the crimson fish down by the beach, as well as the mutant carp in the sewers, and while there I finally remembered to buy the star drop from Krobus. I handed Maru a birthday strawberry the next day, bought a ton of different ingredients from Ari's, and for some reason I decided to start working on the cooking recipes that day. Yeah, I'm not really sure what came over me since I haven't even unlocked the majority of these yet, but that's how I spent the next 25 minutes. Just staring at the recipes and running in and out of the house 500 times. Of course, the Artisan expansion also adds a ton of new recipes, but I decided to focus on the vanilla ones first. Pretty good progress for the first cooking session. I mean, not really, but it could be worse. Moon received her 50th amethyst on Thursday. She simply couldn't contain her excitement and gifted it straight back to me along with a star drop. Thank you very much, Rumi. While plucking the sunberries from the ground, I reached my second mastery level, and shortly after I collected the very first batch of ancient fruit meat. Though, to be honest, I don't really think that the meat is worth making, at least not with ancient fruit, considering how expensive these machines are, and they also need honey as fuel. So I'm gonna reserve the ancient fruit for lattes. Today was everyone's second favorite summer festival, and this time I came prepared with a gold quality cauliflower, and thanks to that got the unforgettable soup achievement. Now, because the potluck soup was such a hit, I had tons of gifts waiting for me in the mailbox the next day, one of which was Lucky Shorts Mystery, and I have very mixed feelings about this gift. Okay, Lucky Shorts Mystery. You can now sell Lucky Shorts, but like, why would I ever do that? I'm a little confused. Checking on my crop field, I had a very pleasant surprise waiting for me in the form of a giant sunberry, quite literally. In the early afternoon, I visited the Mastery Cave and I was debating between farming and mining since both of these would be incredibly handy right now, but ultimately I ended up with the farming mastery mainly because of the iridium scythe. This is never gonna get boring, it's so satisfying to just insta-harvest all of your crops. And yes, I got another giant melon overnight. It's really a shame because I don't want to have my giant crops in this spot, so I will have to remove them pretty soon. I replanted more melon seeds and then spent the rest of my day running around in Sunberry, looking for forage, but also to chat with a few people. We're gonna jump right over to Monday. The only noticeable thing happening on Sunday was that I finally got a rabbit's foot, meaning that the rabbits were not bugged, thankfully. They just don't like me, apparently. I accepted Robin's resource rush, gave Silas and Lonnie a birthday present, and then hung out with Lyanne for a bit. She's Blake's best friend, and I believe she rents a room here at the Serenity Inn, same as Spanner does. And yeah, that's kinda like all I have to say about her. She's not really a super interesting character. While exploring more around Sunberry, I came across this super tiny house next to the playground, as well as Elias, who seems to be the owner of this place. He explained to me that this is indeed his old family house, and he moved from here once he and Ari got divorced, which was a little awkward because I didn't even know that these two were a thing. Elias said that he didn't want it to stay in this place because of all of the bad memories, but now he kinda misses it. My advice to him would be to talk with Robin and see how expensive remodeling would be, and who knows, maybe they can work something out. 156 to 57 was spent in the desert, trading more rubies for spicy eel and gathering lots of stone for Robin's special order. On Wednesday I found a frog egg while down there. I love this little guy, he's so silly. And I harvested my first ever Luna bean in the morning. This plant has a ridiculously slow growth rate considering for how little money it sells for, but maybe I'm gonna need it for something else later on, so I placed it inside my chest for safekeeping. On Thursday, I took a break from mining and focused on a few other important matters. I finally had enough solar essence to craft a second iridium band, which got placed in the spot of the glow ring. The bookseller was once again back in town, and I was missing just a bit under 3k gold to be able to afford the strongest brew, so instead I bought the immunity boost and combat codex. I dropped off the frozen tears and smelted iron bars for Maya, finishing another special order, and then I stopped by Ezra's shop. I should really come here more often since she can sell any clothing item in the game, including Louis trimmed purple shorts.
What?
Where exactly did you get those from?
What the fuck?
Before going back to the farm, I promised to visit Elias' place where Robin and him were already discussing the renovation costs. I'm just here for mental support, and to show off my new underwear, I guess. The good news is that the repairs aren't going to be too expensive, but the bad news is that Robin is going to need a ton of materials. Since I didn't want it to be completely useless and just stand there like a child who had their sweets stolen, I asked if I could maybe assist them somehow, but Elias just said that I can go around town and tell everyone that he's renovating his old place, which I did. After talking with everyone, I returned to my house, where I carefully looked over the different footwear that I collected so far. If you didn't know, you can actually transfer stats from one shoe to another, and in my case I ended up putting the stats from the space boots over to the leather shoes, since these match my current outfit the most. In the late evening, I crafted 2 more mushroom starters, one limey bonnet, that one, and a blushing top hat. Here's a little update on the mushroom tree area. 2 already have fully matured, and I love where this is going. Friday was another Skull Cave trip, and I've been using the fuzzy coal trinket every time I go spelunking since I bought it, and so far this is definitely my favorite modded trinket. On floor 31, I finished Robin's request for collecting 1,000 pieces of stone, and shortly after I found the ice rod, which is also a very useful trinket to have, but I rather use the cute little dust sprite for now. Next morning I got the stone chest recipe from Robin, and I learned that the Lady Luck, an item brought by the foxes, is a universal love gift. Today was another geode and artifact trove opening, and from that I got the last item for the Sunberry collection, as well as the final mineral for the Pelican Museum. I dropped off all of the artifacts over the museum counter, and while in the area I went to check out the new weapon that Maya made. Theron's sword is pretty interesting since it has much better stats than the Galaxy sword, so I ended up buying it. At the forest market I purchased the bathroom and plant lovers catalog, along with a few other goodies. I have so many Junimo gems at this point, and I don't really know what to do with these anymore. In the evening I started on beautifying the pond area a bit, which continued on Saturday morning. This area is still a work in progress, but it definitely looks a lot nicer now. I received a letter from Elias thanking me for the artifact donations, and we are now ready to move on to the final part of the quest. Once I was happy with the decorations, I rode over to visit Elias, and this time I need to find 5 unique artifact pieces. 2 I already had with me, which I dropped off at the box inside the museum. After that I crafted that rain totem for the first day of fall, and with that my preparations for Ginger Island were completed. As I was harvesting my blueberries the following morning, I obtained my 3rd mastery level. I collected the first batch of aged goat cheese, handed the dwarf a birthday gift, and bought the big stone chest recipe from him. I had this urge to decorate again, so I made a pit stop at Robin's place and purchased the furniture catalog. Super expensive item, but definitely worth the money in my opinion. I originally wanted to get the dining room expansion, but I didn't have enough gold for that, so instead I added the corner room and attic. I was very much looking forward to beautifying the house once more because I downloaded 2 furniture mods that I haven't used before. One that adds the bathroom furniture pieces, and the other contains more plants, because I feel like this place is lacking some greenery. At first I tried to add the bathroom pieces to the attic, but it seemed too big since there's only so many pieces in that pack, so I moved it to the corner room and it was almost perfect. By Thursday I was done with the 2 rooms and I was pretty happy with the design. I know I already said it before, but I absolutely love these catalogs. They're so well made, and because they are created by the same person, they all match together really nicely. I finished another request for the raccoon that day, rewarding me with the beautiful jungle tank. I love placing the frogs in here, so this goes right inside the house. Elias invited everyone from Sunberry to his housewarming party, including yours truly, and I have to say it looks amazing in here. This is seriously impressive work if Robin did all of that by herself. While in Sunberry, I stopped by Rose's bakery shop where I purchased a bunch of different cake and cookie mixes, as well as ingredients for cooking. As I spent the evening and also the entire next day working once again on more cooking recipes. There's still a ton of recipes that I haven't unlocked yet, but every bit of progress is gonna make my life be a lot easier later on. That's my hope at least. And speaking about recipes, on Saturday I received the tea processor recipe from Elliot. I've been wondering when I'm gonna unlock this because I need this machine to be able to brew tea. Sounds very obvious, but I thought I only needed the tea kettle for that, which I had for a while now, but nope. The tea kettle only works with finished products from the processor. And since I'm too lazy to craft these myself at the moment, I bought 2 of those at the forest market, along with the required fuel, which are tea leaves. I saw that I had a new giant crop on my farm that day, which I think sprouted in the exact same place as the cauliflower from spring. Unfortunately, the area that I made specifically for giant crops had nothing so far. Oh well. I spent my day working on various journal quests that have been piling up over the seasons. While you do get a little bit of money for completing most of these, I'm mainly doing them for the free friendship points. One request was for the beloved trash bear, and I don't think I mentioned this before, but shout out to the person who created the portrait mod for various animals and vendors. It makes these characters so much more stand out and interesting. 168 marks the final day of summer, and as per usual, it was incredibly busy on Moonlight Farm. Robin sent me a brand new book in the mail, being the Carpenter's Catalog, and this allows me to purchase clay and hardwood from her shop. On top of that, I get a 10% discount on everything she has. Really wish I had this before buying the furniture catalog, but it's still nice to have, of course. I checked over the crop area one last time, and the forest lavender did turn into a giant crop, but nothing else unfortunately. Better than nothing, I suppose. I spent most of the day inside the artisan shed, adding more machines and working on a few items for the shipping list. I made sure to use the rain totem before going to bed. I'm glad I didn't forget about that. And of course, I enjoyed the arrival of the moonlight jellies along with Moon and the rest of Pelican Town. I was incredibly excited for the next season because I knew that Ginger Island was right around the corner. I had all of the materials for the boat repair, almost everything for the community center, and I was prepared as best as I could. The only thing that I was missing now was the walleye, so I went to bed, fishing rod in inventory, and it just didn't rain. It just didn't rain the next day. I guess rain is not possible on the first day of every season. I never really thought about that. You learn something new every day. So I just crafted another totem, did the usual day 1 farm stuff, and went to bed again. But on Tuesday it was raining outside. Thank Yoba. I waited until the fish spawned, reeled in the gold quality walleye, donated it to the fish tank along with the largemouth bass that has been rotting away in my chest over the last 3 seasons, and with that I completed the last room inside the community center. The Junimos said their goodbyes, returned to the spirit world, and now we can finally go to Ginger Island. Well, after the boat repair, of course. Walking into Pelican Town the next day, I saw that everyone gathered inside the newly repaired building. As always, it feels incredible to finish all of the bundles, whether I'm playing modded or not. Morris is the only person who's not so happy about this, but don't worry my guy, we're gonna upgrade the Jotamart in the next modded run, promise. After this cutscene, I immediately ran down towards Willie's shop to get the boat repair quest, but nothing happened, so we'll have to wait with that for another day. In the meantime, I went foraging around town, caught the anglerfish, and worked more on the shipping collection. Pierre let me know that he's now open 7 days a week. Good for me, not so much for his wife Caroline, who was already complaining about his working hours. Yikes. More importantly, I got the letter from Willie that I was waiting for, so I rushed down to his shop where he showed me his dad's old fishing boat. Of course I told him I'd love to help out, and as soon as the cutscene ended, I dumped the 5 battery packs, 200 pieces of hardwood, and 5 iridium bars onto the boat. As I was running around in Sunberry, I came across Iman and Ezra. Iman was acting really strange and wasn't really sure how to explain what she did, so instead she just showed it to us, which turned out to be an alpaca. Yep, she impulse bought a white alpaca. Happens to the best of us, I suppose. The animal was in really bad shape, and that's why she decided to bring her along, but now Iman is panicking because she doesn't know where to put the alpaca. I suggested to talk with Marnie, since, after all, she's the only person with a ranch, and I tagged along with them. Marnie was kind enough to shelter the alpaca for the moment, so she can hopefully make a speedy recovery, and in the meantime, we will help Iman to build a barn on her own. As mentioned earlier, I was running through the entirety of Sunberry looking for any new forage, and while doing so, I spotted the raccoon later in the evening, and as you can see, he's now a befriendable NPC. I updated about 30 mods on that IRL day, which I'm still shocked about. I never update any of my mods once I start playing, but I did this time, and I'm really glad I did, since one of those updates was for Sunberry Village. And I believe the cutscene we saw with Iman and the alpaca was also part of that update, but I could be mistaken. I have no idea if the raccoon also has a few hard events, so we're gonna find that out together. I cleared out a bunch of debris next to the abandoned barn, and unbeknownst to me, this revealed another part of the forest. I really have to explore more. Since it was already late when I came here, I didn't have too much time to look around, so I'll have to come back to this another time. Going to bed that evening, I heard the most irritating but also kinda beautiful sound of Robin and Willy repairing the old boat. Finally, it is time to go to the Fern Islands. Together with Willy, we set sail in the early morning, and not too long after, we arrived, obtaining the Distant Shore achievement. I dug up my first taro tubers from the ground, and also got a holiday shirt, which is strangely fitting. But for some reason it gave me a beer belly when worn, so that's a no-go for me. I grabbed the free tent kits from the jungle, met everyone's favorite jungle boy Leo, and started to collect my first golden walnuts. I don't think I have any mods for Ginger Island installed, so this entire place is completely unchanged. But if you know of any mods that I should try out, then of course feel free to drop a comment down below. Once I had access to the western part of the map, I had a quick talk with Birdie, which initiated the Pirate's Wife questline, and after a very long day of collecting walnuts, I was missing 1 out of the 20 for the island farmhouse. So I whipped up the tent kit, thank god they exist now, and went to bed under the stars. The search for more walnuts continued the next morning. I collected 2 next to the volcano, which allowed me to construct a house. I planted 1 melon, wheat and garlic seed in preparation for the gourmet frog and began clearing out my new farming plot. While doing that, I already found a piece of snake vertebra and a few of the island nodes. I returned to the valley once I was done with cleaning up debris because Pip and Pep were visiting today. Though I'm not so sure if it was worth coming here, I did buy most of the items they had in stock, but it wasn't anything special. 175, I had a look at the mushroom area and I was pleased to see that all of the trees have fully matured by now. As I was making my way to the train station, I spotted our good friend Willy, who was panning at the nearby lake. He had a spare pan with him, which he gifted to me. Not that I ever utilized the pan all that much, but who knows, maybe I can get a lucky ring from the dig site this time. The reason why I went to the train station was to have a chat with Rasmodius, who was looking for his stolen magic ink. For this I first had to retrieve the Dark Talisman from the sewers, hand over the Void Mayor to the henchman, and finally enter the witch's hut. Upon returning the ink to the wizard, he granted me access to the Book of Summoning, where I can purchase more farm buildings from. And this reminded me that I have yet to download a skin for the Golden Clog. I purchased a stack of stone from Robin the next day, which allowed me to finally craft the Statue of Blessing. This item gives you a random buff each day, including infinite stamina, more friendship gain when talking with people, and even a luck buff, so it's definitely worth the materials. I I had a look inside the abandoned Georgia Mart along with the missing bundle, but I'm not gonna stress too much with this since the movie theater isn't too important right now. Before going back to the island, I stopped by the bookseller where I got Friendship 2.2, Bus Driving for Dummies, and The Strongest Brew. This increases the duration of coffee-related drinks, which is super useful. I accepted Caroline's Island ingredient quest where she wants me to ship 100 taro roots. Spoilers, I didn't manage to finish this time, and then sailed over to Ginger Island once more. I properly introduced myself to Leo and his bird family, planted a few taro roots that I had, and then tried for several in-game hours, more than I'd like to admit, to solve the Simon Says puzzle. I did eventually succeed. I hate this stupid game with every fiber of my being, and before going to bed I reeled in a lionfish and a blue discus. Walking out of the island farmhouse the next morning, I saw that the wheat and garlic have fully matured now. I wanted to show both of those to the frog, but I forgot that he insists on seeing the melon first. While there I fished in those tiny pools of water for the frog head, and while doing so I found 2 golden walnuts as well. After that I decided to explore the volcano for the rest of the day, and I was incredibly lucky and found 2 dragon teeth right after entering. And a little while later I even got a double drop from one of the lava lurks. If I remember correctly, I need a total of 16 of those. 10 for the obelisk, 5 for the mini forge, and 1 for the warp totem. From the dwarf I purchased the diamond hunter, obtaining the well-read achievement for finding and reading every book, as well as the island warp totem crafting recipe and the one for ginger ale. I had a rare treasure chest waiting for me on floor 9, though the phoenix ring is not exactly that useful in my opinion, but I'll take any free loot that I can get. Shortly after I reached the forge on top, grabbed the prismatic shard and enchanted the pickaxe. Efficient is really bad at this point in the game since I also have the Statue of Blessing now, so I definitely want to enchant this again at some point. We continue with more island shenanigans on Thursday, where I unlocked the dig site by donating 10 walnuts and freeing Professor Snail from the nearby cave with a well-placed bomb. The professor thanked me for my efforts and told me to stop by his field office, which I did right after cleaning up the dig site. I successfully answered the field survey and I already had a few donations for him. The fossilized bat and frog, 1 snake spine and 2 leg pieces of whatever this is supposed to be. Bringing up the current walnut count to 15, which I'm gonna save for the island resort. I teleported back to the valley once I was done talking with the professor, headed over to the blacksmith to upgrade my pan and to open more artifact troves. From these I obtained the dwarf keys that I was looking for a while now, brought those over to the Sunberry Museum, and with that I completed the entire collection and finished the Sunberry Museum quest, part 3. Elias invited me to the grand opening the next morning, which of course I had to check out immediately. Every single person from Sunberry came to the museum to marvel at the finished collection. Even the add-on NPCs, which is a very lovely detail. My reward for this was a friendship boost with the townies, which is actually a really nice reward. The day was spent running all over the valley, talking to several people, and handing them the corresponding item for the Pirate's Wife questline. I had over 500,000 gold saved up by now, and with that I constructed my first obelisk on the farm. I'm gonna be moving around Ginger Island a lot over the next couple of weeks, so the water obelisk made the most sense to me at the moment. I upgraded the pan once more, teleported down to the beach, where I ran into Diala. She was thinking about her friendship with Deria and said that it felt incomplete to her. Turns out they actually used to date back in high school, which confirmed that they are not sisters like I used to say in year 1. Well, I mean, I hope they're not related, that would be awkward. Arriving on Ginger Island shortly after, I handed Birdie the Pirate's Wife locker, and for this I was rewarded with the fairy dust recipe, but more importantly she also handed me 5 golden walnuts. With that I had enough to unlock the resort and gain access to the western part of the map, where I was on the hunt for even more walnuts. It was raining on the island on 182, so I tracked down my first gem bird, went back home to the valley after that, where I had a huge pumpkin harvest to take care of, giant you could say, At the Sunberry River, I caught an emerald snapper, and in the hidden forest section, reeled in Mr. Angler Jr. The fishing continued on Monday, this time at the desert pond for a scorpion carp and sandfish. I handed Sandy a crocus for a big day, and while there, I entered the casino for the first time. Participated in a little bit of healthy gambling at the slot machine, and once I had a good amount of tokens, I bought the alien Recolour and a few farm warp totems. This was the last Recolour I was missing, and for collecting all of them, I got the deluxe Recolour recipe in the mail the next day. Today was the Stardew Valley fair, and I wanted to try out if I can use the modded artisan products for the Garage as well. So I brought my finest ancient fruit lattes, melon cakes, donuts, jelly beans, and starfruit kombucha. Visually, the display looked absolutely gorgeous in my opinion, but unfortunately I only came in second place. Oh well. On 185, I added more casks to the basement to increase my aged cheese production, constructed a second pet bowl on the farm, and adopted a new pet from Marnie. Please welcome Gog the Husky. I turned off the recording a little too soon the other day, but I did get another mastery level while doing a late night greenhouse harvest. And at first I was thinking about the foraging mastery for the treasure totem you get, but the mining mastery with the dwarf statue is so much more useful right now, so I went with that. On Thursday I continued filling in the fishing list by catching a chartreuse?
Chartreuse.
That, and a firetail guppy by the village river. And yeah, besides fishing and showing my haul to Elias, I didn't do anything else. Moving over to Friday, where I purchased myself a new trinket from our ghostly friend. The leathery wing summons a tiny bat that recovers HP and energy on critical hits. I still need a ton of iridium to be able to craft a dwarf statue, so it was time to go spelunking again. At first I wasn't sure if the bat would actually be useful to me at all, since the health and energy recovery only triggers on crits, but somehow I was getting crits left and right when slaying enemies, which is indicated by those red sparks next to me. Taking a closer look at the sword that I am using, it does have a plus 15 crit chance, though I have no idea how these modifiers work, but apparently the crit chance seems to be very high. This was an amazing trip for me. I found so many great items, including my beloved parrot egg, another frog egg, a lucky ring from a random crate which I immediately put on, and also this really cool denim jacket. But it gets even better, no joke, I got a second lucky ring from yet another random crate on a treasure floor. Insane. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording my voice at the time because I was feeling a little sick, but I can guarantee you I was pogging in real life. I couldn't believe my luck. I returned to Rainy Ginger Island the next morning to show the gourmet frog my harvest. First the melon, then the wheat, and lastly the garlic, rewarding me with a total of 15 golden walnuts. Easy peasy. With those I unlocked the Parrot Express, which in hindsight I should have saved for the obelisk, but oh well, and I also unlocked the island mailbox. I crafted a couple of loot blocks for the mermaid puzzle down by the western beach, which I definitely knew how to do and didn't look up on the wiki, granting me another 5 walnuts. I spotted a second gembird earlier that day who dropped a topaz, placed it onto the pedestal in the jungle next to the emerald. I brought the rest of the other gems with me as well and tried different combinations until this puzzle was completed as well. I was missing only 7 walnuts by now to enter Mr. Cheese's secret room, and the goal for me is to find every single walnut by myself, because I've never done that before. I always end up paying the Joja parrot for the remaining few that I'm missing, but not this time. I want to find everything on my own. I spent a little time decorating inside the island farmhouse. I'm not really sure yet what pieces I want to use in here, so I'm gonna leave it for now. Aside from beautifying the house, I ventured into the volcano where I found a room that I've never seen before, or rather a room design. I think it's supposed to be a cat, or maybe a dog? No idea, but it sure looks adorable. The main reason why I came here today was to combine one of my lucky rings with the iridium band, my favorite ring combo. I also brought a few prismatic shards with me, and I ended up enchanting the watering can, which got the efficient enchantment. Not what I wanted at all. I constructed the island obelisk and returned back to the valley. I had enough iridium bars now to craft the statue of the Dwarf King, which allows me to choose between 2 mining related buffs each day. I visited Pip and Pep, who had very cheap prismatic shards for sale yet again, and then went over to the museum to donate all the new artifacts that I found over the past few days, leaving only 2 remaining to finish the entire collection. 191 was a sad day for me. Some of you might have already noticed it by now, but the propagation station that I used to have next to the purple chest is gone, and it has been gone ever since the beginning of fall. Remember when I said earlier that I updated a bunch of mods, one of which was also the Wildflower NPC add-on for Sunberry, and unfortunately the propagation station was removed with the latest update. It's such a shame because I love the idea of being able to craft my own mushrooms, flower, and even tree saplings. So the mushroom tree goal that I had is no longer doable. Apparently the mushroom tree saplings itself still exist, like they're in the game files, but I have no idea where to get those. Even now, after I played through the entire second year, I haven't found a single one. And this is exactly why I never update any of my mods after I started playing. But anyways, moving on. On Wednesday I dug up the ostrich egg that was marked on one of my notes, giving me another walnut as well, and this finally allowed me to enter Mr. Chee's secret room. The man himself was waiting for me in the inside, informing me about his challenge board and the great rewards that I can obtain from these. The first quest I accepted was Cheese Kindness, which is probably one of the easiest ones he has, especially when playing with expansion packs. I started by giving Leo a duck feather and continue handing out gifts in the valley. Upon walking into Pelican Town the next day, I stumbled upon Iman, Ezra, Robin, and Marnie. Iman had a couple of days to think about a new home for her alpaca friend, her name's Fluffy by the way, and decided that she wants to renovate the old barn inside the Sunberry Forest, which confirms that this is indeed her building. Of course I want her and Fluffy to be happy, so I offered to help out with gathering materials, and I'll be collecting the wood for that. Aside from handing out gifts, the bookseller was back in town, and from him I got the Queen of Sauce cookbook, positive reinforcement, and I traded him the second lucky ring that I had for the fortune guide. Same as the ring, the book gives +1 luck, but without having to waste a ring slot. I finished Cheese Kindness later that day, rewarding me with my first 40 gems, which I'm gonna save for the horse flute. I dropped off 500 pieces of wood for Iman's barn, decorated around the farm for a bit since I didn't really know what else to do, and later after 4 PM I enjoyed today's festivities. For this year's Twilight event I had over 100 feathers saved up, and I was eager to go shopping. I purchased 1 amphibian fossil from Elias. Ezra had a freaking living hat for sale, so I had to take that. If you don't know, this is like one of the rarest hats in the entire game. I saw Moon in her adorable Halloween costume down by the daycare. I don't know how I missed that last year, she looks so cute. The most important stand was the one from Wildflower with all of the magical fruit saplings. Since the propagation station got removed, I think I can only obtain these from her. And luckily for me, I had just enough feathers to buy all of the ones that I didn't have yet. 1 Honeyshire, Summerdale, Noonvale, and Lily Grove sapling. The remaining 10 feathers were spent on 2 mushroom seeds from Ari's. What can I say? I really enjoy having lots of different trees on the farm. All of the saplings were planted inside the greenhouse next to the already matured mossflower tree, and I never thought I'd say this, but I kinda wish the greenhouse was even bigger. There's not enough space in here for all of the modded saplings. 195 started off by visiting Iman at her newly repaired barn. She thanked everyone for helping her out, and now Fluffy finally has a new home, and I can even purchase alpacas myself over at Marnie's place. Today I received a new artisan machine in the mail, being an oven, and since I'm still too lazy to craft these on my own, I purchased 2 of those from Rose. I moved the coffee grinders and brewers inside the artisan shed, which is almost completely full now, and then decorated the greenhouse for the remainder of the time. The final day of autumn was just like yesterday, mostly spent on Moonlight Farm. I've been getting a few giant crops during this season, but sadly not in the spot where I want them to grow. It's the desire meter that exists in every single game. I had a look at the new livestock over at Marnie's, and same as the sheeps, alpacas produce their own wool, and the description says that they can grow wool even faster once you have a high enough friendship level with the animal, which is quite nice. Say hello to Laggy and Steve, our newest four-legged friends. I cleaned up around the western side of the farm, where I have most of my hardwood trees planted, and since I was getting pretty unlucky with the giant crops that I tried to grow here, I was contemplating if I should just make this into a regular crop field after all, but that's a decision for next year. As per usual, the first day of winter was a busy one, but not because of the reasons that you might think. So remember 2 days ago when I got the fruit saplings from the Twilight event, the ones that I planted inside the greenhouse? Yeah, that was a mistake. Turns out these trees produce different kinds of flowers and fruits in each season. The mouse flower sapling has been in here for over a year now, and so far it only produced Eversweet pomegranate, and nothing else. This seems to be a little buggy at the moment once you plant these inside the greenhouse, and I suppose the sapling gets confused and doesn't know what season they're in. I don't know how game coding works, but obviously something isn't right here, since these are only meant to bear Eversweet pomegranates during spring. Thankfully, you do get the sapling back once you chop down the tree, and I moved all of these to the orchard area where I have most of the other trees as well. Now, I always try to play new expansion packs as blind as I can and only look up information if I really have to, like that one time where I had to check how to make Moon my roommate, but I was really happy that I ended up checking the wiki for this as well, because I would have left the trees inside the greenhouse until I was done with this playthrough. I was getting a bit worried at this point because I was still missing so much forage for the shipping collection. Not only that, but also a ton of flowers and different kinds of mushrooms. And that brings me to another mistake of mine. I ended up downloading a new mod today, being the BushBloomMod, and this allows me to collect rare forage, like these titania bells, from regular bushes, and I should have downloaded this a very long time ago. This mod is actually recommended on the Wildflower Nexus page because of the fact that some of the modded plants are so rare to come by, but I didn't see that up until now. I'm mentioning all of this again in case I have someone watching who also wants to play with all of these mods, but also to remind everyone, please read the full mod description before downloading anything. The mod creators write this stuff for a reason and not because they're bored. Anyways, moving along. 198 was spent on Rainy Ginger Island, more specifically inside the volcano. I finished the Monster Slayer Gold for slimes, found a couple of random walnuts, and even had 2 treasure chests on the same floor. One only had a few cinder shards, but the other gave me the dragon scale boots, which are pretty good. I grabbed another dragon tooth, and today I enchanted the axe, which received the powerful skill, which I would have preferred on the pickaxe, but still nice to have. Krebo sent me a new artisan machine the next day, being a chocolate barrel. As the name implies, this turns fruit or other ingredients into gourmet chocolate bars. I handed Rihanna a birthday gift, and then I was in the mood for a new trinket. I traded 200 bone fragments for the red polished cranium. This summons a floating skull next to me, and somehow he also has the cat ears and whiskers that I have equipped. No idea if this is intentional or not, but he looks almost adorable. I'm obsessed. I accepted Demetrius Biome Balance quest the other day for catching 10 squid, which I started on later in the evening. I was already done with this the next day, since I still had a ton of squid bait from last year's event. I managed to fish up a bit of seaweed during that as well, and this allowed me to finally commission another pond on the farm. After this I made my way towards the desert and dove inside the mineshaft. I've been a little lazy when it comes to the Skull Cave lately. I guess I've been burned out since I spent so much time inside the Sunberry mine system. I forgot I accepted G's Skull Cavern invasion at the beginning of the week, and the fact that it was also a neutral luck day didn't make my time in here very pleasant. The Skull Trinket is absolutely amazing, by the way. It acts like a shield around you, pushing away any enemies that get too close, and it also deals a tiny amount of damage. My trip ended abruptly before it was even 8 PM as I was trying to eat my spicy eel, and I misclicked and accidentally went up the ladder. But it's whatever, I wasn't even remotely close to making it to floor 100 that day. I'm gonna need a lot of staircases for that. Saturday was not so eventful. I was once again working on various cooking recipes and chilling around the farm. Quite literally. But Sunday was a lot more exciting. I traded over 100 jade for staircases as well as more rubies for spicy eel, and ventured into the Skull Cave yet again. I wrote down in my notes that I had the worst treasure floors with the worst loot ever, but I must have forgotten about the second otter petter that I got. Never gonna complain about one of those. On floor 70, I finished a Monster Slayer gold for mummies, and not too long after, I finally reached level 100. Where I had Mr. Chi and his pet snakes waiting for me. He said that he heard I was attempting a deep dive into the Skull Cave, which is hilarious. Like, sir, you're the one who put out the quest for that, but okay. I did skip most of the level's weird staircases, but honestly, I don't care about that. A win is a win. My reward was 40 gems and a sip of the finest iridium snake milk. I ventured further down in hopes of finding more loot, reached another mastery level on floor 128, and it shows right here that I was already maxed out and obtained all 5 of the levels. I have no idea when that happened, and I'm not gonna realize this until late winter. Naturally, I wanted to visit the Mastery Cave as soon as possible, but it was the Festival of Ice the next day, and the Sinister Forest is closed during that. Once more, I accepted Caroline's Island ingredient quest. This time, I hope that I can succeed with shipping the 100 Taro roots, and then I went foraging since I didn't really care much about today's event. Moving over to Tuesday morning, where I unlocked the Foraging Mastery. I crafted 1 Mystic Tree Seed, planted it next to the house, and off I went to Ginger Island. From Mr. Chi's shop, I bought the Horse Flute, one of my favorite items in the entire game, the key to the town, and Mr. Chi's notebook. This is another modded book that gives me a small chance to find random Chi gems. I had a look at the special order board, and usually the 4 precious stones is a no-brainer for me, but for some reason I opted to go for the crop order. Now, full disclosure, I never managed to fulfill this before. This is arguably one of the hardest, if not the hardest quest from Mr. Chi, but I was up for the challenge. And this right here is the start of a new obsession of mine. I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but more on that in a bit. For now, my attention was shifted elsewhere, and I was finding more fossils for Professor Snail. I fished up the snake skull, and then I was hanging around the dig site for a few in-game hours, trying to get more pieces of the other fossils as well, but I had no luck with that. At least I was able to complete the snake fossil that day, and this rewarded me with 3 walnuts and my very first mango sapling. I had 11 golden walnuts in my possession now, and these were used to construct the Island Trader, because from him I can trade bone fragments or taro seeds, which is exactly what I needed. I could have already bought myself a banana sapling as well, but not for 5 entire dragon teeth. I think I say this every single time when I'm here, but this is absolutely outrageous. Not even Pierre is that greedy. Next morning I expanded the island field and planted more taro roots and also my first chi beans. I managed to find the palm fossil by breaking a few of the rocks over at the dig site, and this was really exciting for me since this was indeed the last piece for the museum collection. I decorated inside the house just for a bit and then returned to the valley the following day. Robin was done with the pond construction by now, and this will be the home of a blue discus in hopes of getting a few golden coconuts, and in the other pond I threw in the 1 sturgeon that I had. I commissioned an iridium pan from Clint, and then I donated the final 2 artifacts to the museum, finishing the local collection. got the starter from Gunther, and the complete collection achievement. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I never even properly attempted to finish Mr. G's crop order before, so I was reading up online what the best way of obtaining these G beans are, and I couldn't really find a proper answer to that, but apparently opening geodes has a good chance of giving these beans. I brought a few Omni geodes, mystery boxes, and even artifact troves over to Clint and began the long process of opening each and every one of them. I'll spare you the details, but the mystery boxes and also the artifact troves did not give a single bean. However, after opening 80 Omni geodes, I had 18 G beans. Great, now I only need 482 more of those and I'm good to go. I bought a bunch of deluxe speedgrow from Pierre's and planted a few beans that I had in my yard. On Saturday, I grabbed any remaining Omni geodes that I had laying around on the farm and once again spent a solid 20 minutes opening all of them. And before anyone writes a comment, yes, I know geode crushers exist. No, I haven't unlocked these yet. This gave me another 15 G beans, which, you know, is not too bad, but I'm gonna need a lot more than that. If you're not so familiar with Mr. G's crop order, then let me enlighten you a bit. Once you accept this quest, you can now find so-called G beans all over the valley. As far as I know, you can find these by doing almost anything. Fishing, shaking or cutting trees, breaking rocks, opening Omni geodes, and even fish ponds can produce these. The beans can be planted all year around, so it doesn't matter when you accept the quest, and they take 4 days to fully mature, 3 days with speed fertilizer. Unfortunately, these are not regrowable crops, so in order to obtain more beans, you need to place the fruit inside a seed maker once they're done. This is probably the most important step to this, because the chance of me somehow finding 400 beans by doing menial tasks like fishing or chopping trees is near impossible. Here I harvested the first 20 beans that I planted, immediately placed them inside the seed maker, and I got 35 seeds from that. Monday the 15th was the first day of the annual night market. From there I bought a ton of seasonal plants, a few spring crops for various cooked dishes, and I fished in a submarine in hopes of finding more seaweed for fish ponds. I even bought the training rod from Willia earlier just for that. Before departing to Ginger Island the next day, I handed Willie a piece of quality cheese, and funnily enough he gave me 5 seaweed in return for that. Thank you very much, good sir. I had a few beans planted at the island farm as well, which I harvested that day, and later in the evening I did the exact same thing as yesterday, fishing for seaweed at the night market. 214 I planted the seeds that I got from the night market inside the greenhouse, and that's when I finally realized that I already somehow had all 5 mastery levels. So I went down to the cave and I unlocked the fishing mastery, granting me the advanced iridium rod. The only difference between this and the regular rod is the fact that you can attach 2 tackles to it. I tested it out shortly after as I was trying to catch the glacier fish, and I was struggling with this a lot more than I thought I would. I even had to return to the farm and pick up a seafoam pudding, but eventually I reeled it in. With that, I caught every single legendary fish in the game. Friday was incredibly exciting for me because not only was it Christmas Day in real life, but I had my very first giant chi fruit sprout on the farm. I've seen pictures of it before, but I never actually managed to grow one myself, so I was, unironically, really proud of this. And on Saturday, I had the second fruit sprout right next to the first one. It was at this point where I noticed just how demanding the crop order quest actually was. Most of the field was full with beans now, and because they have such a short growth time, my days from here on out would go as followed. I'd wake up, harvest the beans, immediately place them inside the seed maker, and replant them once again. Because of the fact that I need to ship so many crops, I had to eventually expand the field over on the island farm as well. This whole process might sound really easy, and it is, in theory, but I'm not gonna lie to you, I haven't been this stressed out when playing a game in ages. I had 6 seed makers by now, and even with that, it took multiple in-game hours to process the beans into seeds once more. Wednesday was the final day for planting any beans, since, as I said before, they take 3 days to grow with the fertilizer. The island farm was a complete mess at this point. I mean, look at it. What can I say? I heavily underestimated this quest. Once I was done with everything, I anxiously waited until Saturday and prayed that I planted enough beans. I waited, and waited some more, and let me tell you, it was beyond satisfying to harvest all of these crops at once. I don't think I ever had a field of that size before. I might have gone a little overboard with this because only on the island I already harvested over 400 chi fruit. Remember, I need only 500 in total. I had like 6 giant crops on the farm back at home by now, and after cutting those down and the rest of the normal sized beans, I had 842 crops. Is there a world record for that? Because I seriously need to know about that. And before I forget, I did also finish Caroline's crop order that day, unlocking the solar panel crafting recipe. I shipped those bad boys off, and upon going to bed I received 100 chi gems. Was this worth the effort? Yeah, absolutely. I think that 100 gems is a worthy reward for this. Would I ever do this again? Probably not, no. I was really glad that I decided to leave a few of the giant crops untouched because, same as the calico eggs during the desert festival, the chi crops automatically disappear from your inventory after you completed the quest. Not the giant crops though. With over 100 gems in my possession now, I obtained Pierre's missing stock list, the heavy tapper, deluxe fertilizer, and magic bait crafting recipe. The perfection tracker isn't looking too bad either. I mean, obviously I'm still missing a ton of stuff, but we're gonna focus on that in the next year, of course. Just like in any other playthrough, year number 3 starts off with a visit from Grandpa. Well, I mean, kind of? In ghost form, that is. He tells me that he's proud of me and that Moonlight Farm is in good hands. Couldn't agree more with that. Walking outside of the house shortly after, I saw that the candles at the shrine lit up, and from those I obtained the Statue of Perfection. Most of the magical fruit trees have fully matured by now, and from this I was able to harvest some new flowers. While in town I accepted the gifts for George's special order, as well as the flower sword request from Aicha. I made sure to hand the raccoon a birthday present, and finally I picked up the freshly made soju from my kegs. This is a request that I accepted from Lani during winter last year. I dropped off 5 bottles at her kitchen counter the next morning, and this was the first time that I actually visited her house. I really enjoy how all of the modded villagers have very unique and interesting interiors. Lani has a seriously impressive gaming setup. I wish I had something like that. Today I decided to add more crop fields to the western side of the farm. I tried for almost the entirety of the second in-game year to grow giant crops over here, but only the forest lavender worked out, so I gave up on that for now. And I started to remove absolutely everything, including the mahogany tree farm. For this I needed more iridium sprinklers, so I was off to Ginger Island, and yes, I know it looks horrendous here. I'll clean it up at some point. A really nice detail about modded farms is that you can usually till the ground on every tile, so this allows for massive farming opportunities since you're not limited to only dirt tiles. I constructed my first Junimo hut on the left field, and by the way, this is the most optimal layout that I could find online. This covers every single tile and even a few more of all of the 8 iridium sprinklers. This was a pretty huge project, so it took me quite some time to set everything up, but by Friday I was done with most of the work. I finished yet another request for the raccoon, rewarding me with the Book of Stars, got acquainted with everyone's favorite trash bear, and with 500,000 gold in my pockets, I constructed the Earth obelisk on the farm. On 230, I realized that I can craft fiber seeds, which is very important if I want to construct more Junimo huts on the farm. After I planted a couple of those, I stopped by the Adventure Guild, where I had a look at the monster eradication list. Since I needed a ton of iron for Aicha's special order, I decided to work on the dust sprites first. On Sunday, I forgot to record for most of the day, though thankfully this was the only time that happened. I did finish the Slayer goal for dust sprites that day, and I also gathered enough leeks to complete the request for Evelyn, so you didn't miss anything too special. For this I got the coffee maker in my mail the next day, which I always enjoy having inside the kitchen. I dropped off some fiber, iron bars and tulips at Sala's blacksmithing shop, finishing Aicha's flower sword request, and after that I made my way over to Ginger Island. I accepted Chi's kindness once more, and then I wanted to spend the rest of the day inside the volcano to work on more Slayer goals, but for some reason I got really impatient on floor number 3 as I had to find pressure plates to continue further ahead, and I couldn't find them, so I just left. Instead I remembered that I had enough materials now for the missing bundle. I donated 1 cavia, prismatic shard, gold quality ancient fruit, a void salmon, and dino mayo. With the missing bundle being finished, the last Junimo was able to return home to the spirit world. Well, aside from Moon, of course, but she's not going anywhere. Both Tuesday and Wednesday were mostly just me running all over the valley and handing out gifts. A few other noticeable things that happened during that were, I had a look at the new flower sword that Maya made, thanks to all of the materials that I gathered the other day. It looks absolutely stunning, but unfortunately it has a lot less damage than my current weapon, so it's not really worth buying anymore. I gave the trash bear the sardine he asked for, and then I went to check out the movie theater with my bestie Moon. I had absolutely no clue what to order for her at the counter. Out of the 5 options that I had, I thought kale smoothie might be okay. The first movie that premiered was The Brave Little Sapling, and unsurprisingly, Moon was obsessed. The kale smoothie, on the other hand, was not a hit. She didn't even touch it. Honestly, I don't know what I was thinking when ordering this. I wouldn't drink this myself either. 235 started off with a visit to the local blacksmith, where I opened all of the golden mystery boxes that I obtained so far. I was hoping that I could maybe get another autopedal from those, but it wasn't happening. I finished Chi's kindness later that day, and I showed Elias the mothfish that I obtained from one of my crab pots a while ago, which was the last specimen that he needed to finish the fish compendium. For helping him complete the book, I was rewarded with a deluxe worm bin, which, you know, is not exactly the most exciting item, but hey, a gift is a gift. From the walnut shop I got the hyperspeed core crafting recipe, and the rest of the day, as well as Saturday, was spent inside the volcano. Other than me finding more dragon teeth, there wasn't really too much going on. So moving over to Sunday. Thanks to the fiber seeds that I planted, I had enough materials now to construct a second Junimo hut. It was time to start working on the crafting list, and while I'm busy with that, we can talk about the goals that I have for this year, because I kinda forgot about this earlier. Priority for spring and summer is to max out everyone's friendship meter. I did already make some good progress with that during the first 2 years, but there's still quite a few people that I barely interacted with so far. This brings me to my second goal, and that is to make all of the cooking recipes, once I actually unlock all of them. So that's why befriending everyone takes priority over that. I want to have all 4 of the obelisks on the farm. I already have the water obelisk, and since Sunberry doesn't have one, this shouldn't take too long either. I want to work on the Monster Slayer goals and just anything else that is required for perfection. I'd say I was able to make around 80% of the items that were available to me right now, but one thing that I noticed while doing that was that I was almost out of iridium ore. Luckily for me, the Desert Festival started the next day, so it was the perfect excuse to go spelunking. And yeah, you know how it is. I spent the next 2 days exclusively inside the Skull Cave. Nothing too crazy happened while down there, and also not at the event. Emily's fashion has been disappointing, to say the very least. Now that I had more iridium ore, I resumed working on the crafting recipes. I managed to take off over 90% of the entire list, so it's not too bad. Earlier that day I commissioned my first slime hutch on the farm. Not that I ever utilized these all that much, but I have so much space here that I still don't know what to do with. While at the Walnut Room, I accepted Cheese Cuisine, where I have to ship 100k worth of cooked dishes. Which might sound a little crazy at first, but this is actually a really simple quest as long as you have a bit of money available. As far as I'm aware, the easiest way to complete this is just to buy 2 stacks of wheat flour from Pierce, make a buttload of bread, and ship everything off. And there we go, that's another 25 gems in the bag. It is day 20 of spring in year number 3, and I have yet to acquire a single golden coconut. Golden coconuts are somewhat important as these contain a fossil that I need for the field office, and they also have a chance to obtain tropical saplings. They have a very low chance to be dropped from palm trees around the island, but they can also be dug up from dig spots, so I crafted as many treasure totems as I could, and I used them down by the beach. Surprisingly, this worked a lot better than I thought it would, and I managed to dig up 7 golden coconuts. I cracked those open at Clint's, from which I got another golden walnut and 2 banana saplings. Unfortunately, I didn't get the fossil that I wanted, so I had to go back to the island and trade coconuts for the golden variant. This is only possible after you obtained a golden one. Back at Clint's shop, I obtained the fossilized skull and also this really stylish coconut helmet. With the fossilized skull and ribs, I was finally able to finish the last skeleton and thus completing the field office. As a way of saying thanks, the professor shared his crafting recipe for an ostrich incubator, and I also got 6 golden walnuts. And I guess also a 3rd banana sapling. The more the merrier. Now I have been stalling for this long enough, it was finally time to start cleaning up the island farm. I like the heart-shaped flower field so much that I decided to make something similar here. This is basically how I spent the majority of the last week of spring, either working on the island farm or on the one back at home. On Friday morning I had Ophelia outside my house and she was here to hand me an old weapon blueprint. She said that once I gathered the materials I can drop those off at the Serenity Inn and Maya will then forge the weapon for me. I thought at first that this cutscene was a little random, but then I remembered that Ophelia used to be a member of the Adventure Guild before she took over the inn from her husband. Nothing too complicated, just a bunch of minerals and gold bars, so this should be done in no time flat. Demetrius sent me a recipe for a frozen treat machine the next day, and I believe this was the last modded artisan machine that I was missing. It's basically an ice cream maker. I finished yet another cheese kindness quest that day, and the gems were traded in for the bluegrass starter recipe. A few days ago I was hanging around the volcano again, and this time I enchanted the hoe, which received the Swift modifier, and I was amazed by this. Look how fast I can till the soil now. It's crazy. On 252 I finished decorating the island farmhouse. I tried my best to make it look more interesting because I feel like all of my Ginger Island interiors end up looking very similar to each other. I was so focused on beautifying this place that I actually forgot to watch the Moonlight Jelly event later, which I know it's blasphemous, but once I start decorating I simply cannot stop anymore. On the very first day of summer I crafted that ostrich incubator, which got placed inside the barn along with the ostrich egg. Walking into Sunberry shortly after, I saw Doraya and Diala in the middle of a very important conversation. Diala was ready to finally confess her feelings towards her best friend, not really sure why she wanted to do this in the middle of town with a million people around, but okay. This was a little awkward because first of all she texted Toria that she had feelings for her, but also because the cutscene was a little buggy. The phone screen was halfway stuck in the right corner of the screen, so I have no idea what they were texting each other, but apparently it must have been something very wholesome because at the end they shared a kiss with each other. I placed the golden sunberries that I got last year inside a seed maker, which I really should have thought about a lot sooner. They take an even longer time to mature than ancient fruits, so I hope that these are worth planting. With the fields being taken care of now, I was able to focus on more important things, like fishing. First, I caught a wood skip. Yes, it took me 3 in-game years to get a wood skip, don't judge me. Then a dorado, and finally a gooby by the waterfall, obtaining the Master Angler achievement for catching every single fish in the game, along with the star drop from Willy the next day. I handed the trash bear the super cucumber he requested a while ago, then he wanted a lobster bisque, which spiraled into me working on more cooking recipes for the day. Yep, I was still not done with those. 257 was another volcano trip. Nothing too interesting happened, though I did find the best hat in the entire game. Saturday and Sunday were spent in the Skull Cave. On floor 40 I finished the Slayer Goal for bats, I even found a Galaxy Soul that day. Sunday I was mostly utilizing staircases at first, which is so satisfying to look at. Before midday I reached level 100, finishing another Skull Cave special request, and by the way, spelunking never felt so easy before. The leathery wing is officially my new favorite trinket. Thanks to this little bat, I am basically immortal. It out-heals any damage so fast that I can't even see my health bar move. Like, ever. So if you're struggling with the Skull Cave or any other area that has monsters in it, I would highly recommend downloading the Trinket mod. After handing the raccoon a gift the next day, I was off to visit Rasmodius, where I constructed the Desert Obelisk. And that only leaves the Island Obelisk left, though it's gonna be a while until I can afford that one. As I headed inside the local tavern to hand Gus a birthday present, I suffered a small panic attack as I thought he left early to visit Ginger Island, since he wasn't inside the building. But of course, it wouldn't be that easy now, would it? Instead, he was just coming back from his trip to the general store. Oh well. I accepted Cheese kindness for the 50th time that day, and I'm not gonna mention this anymore because this won't be the last time either. From the walnut shop, I obtained the hopper crafting recipe, the worst item in the entire game in my opinion. You will never convince me that this is worth the materials. Unfortunately for me, I will have to craft it anyways to reach perfection in the end. Oh yeah, and I also got the Junimo chest. On Tuesday I learned that you can plant regular trees on the island farm, which blew my mind. I knew that you can plant fruit saplings, but for some reason I never tried to do that with regular trees. Like I said, you learn something new every day. While I was busy with beautifying the island farm, the ostrich egg hatched in the meantime, which was actually a cassowary egg. Look at him, he's so adorable. I dropped off the materials for Ophelia's weapon blueprint, handed Alex a birthday gift the next day, and then I was once again off to the island where I witnessed arguably the best cutscene in the entire game. Willie and I have been worried about Leo ever since we met him, and today we brought Linus along. Linus told Leo about Pelican Town, where he lives, what he eats, and that there's other kids to meet back on the mainland. He was reluctant at first, but ultimately decided to come with us, though he was also worried about leaving behind his bird family. One bird came down to the boat and in their quirky little bird language said that they're happy for Leo and that he has to start his next chapter of his life. From now on, Leo will be living in the valley, which is very convenient for me as this will make befriending him so much easier. I traded in my precious gems for 8 enrichers, which was a huge mistake, but more on that later. And then I was hanging around the volcano where I finished the Slayer goal for Magma Sprites. 266 to 69 were spent focusing on more Slayer goals. I was able to complete the one for 60 rock crabs and also the one for 250 serpents. For this I activated the dangerous mines, since I knew that royal serpents also count towards that Slayer goal, and there's usually at least one on each floor, but somehow this made the grind even more tedious. Sometimes the serpent will get knocked back so far and then just despawn all of a sudden. So that was a bit weird, but no matter, I finished the Slayer goal regardless. I went to check out Ophelia's weapon the next morning, and I have to say, I really enjoy how there's so many quests for different weapon designs with the Sunberry mod. The Sunslash has the exact same stats as Theron's sword, but with a lot more damage, so this will be my main weapon from now on. I picked up the Napalm ring from Jill, traded in a few cinder shards for the deluxe retaining soil crafting recipe, and lastly I combined the ring with the iridium band up at the forge. On Thursday I was lucky enough and found a coral fungus while foraging. This was the last mushroom for the shipping collection, and then I was busy with crafting again. I also finally took the time to decorate the second shed where I have most of my non-modded machines inside. The only thing that I was missing now for the crafting list was the mini forge, which I could have already made right there and then, but I wanted to have the island obelisk first, and on that note, I went back to the volcano to look for more dragon teeth. I am so tired of this place by now. The cassowary was fully grown up by now, and I just love how adorable he looks. Well, I mean, I would never want to encounter one in real life, of course. Any bird that is taller than 50 centimeters is a classified dinosaur in my eyes. Saturday I picked up my first ever banana, which was a huge milestone. Not only do I need those for the shipping collection, but also for various cooked dishes, and they can even help me obtain more golden walnuts. You might remember all of those rubies that I traded for spicy eel last year. These were used to get the jug of iridium milk from our ghostly friend at the quarry. Jug of iridium snake milk. Summon an iridium snake, seeks out and explode enemies every 3 seconds for 77 damage. That seems very, very balanced. I need that now. Oh my god! What is this? I also traded 50 gold ingots for the Trinket colorizer, and I had no idea how amazing this item would be. As the name implies, this lets you color the modded trinkets at the cost of 15 Omni Geodes per reroll. Oh, and now it's green? Oh my god, I love that so much. What a cute feature. I was on the hunt for void spirits for the rest of the day, and luckily I finished that goal on the same evening, obtaining the Monster Slayer hero title. The banana tree on the island was also fully matured by Sunday, and with this one single banana, I rushed on over to the jungle where I traded it to this... I want to say gorilla, maybe? For another 3 golden walnuts. More volcano shenanigans. This time I brought the iridium snake milk with me, but I quickly realized that this trinket is not as OP as I thought it was. Oh my god. That does so much damage. What? No, I cannot use this. I'm gonna pass out. As per usual, I didn't read the full item description because it does say that the explosion can damage the player. So I don't know if this is percentage based or if that always happens, but yeah, right now I don't really see this being useful to me. I handed the dwarf a birthday present, maxing out another friendship, commissioned a brand new shed from Robin, and later that day I had a very pleasant surprise waiting for me on the island. And oh my god, are they actually here? Yes! Oh my god, no way! So glad I checked. I've been checking the Pirate Cove here and there ever since I unlocked this part of the map, and so far I haven't had any luck with the pirates visiting, so I was ecstatic when they did finally decide to show up. There's not that much going on while Davy Jones' crew is visiting, however you can get 3 walnuts for playing Dart, which is precisely what I did. The following morning I received the blast manual from the dwarf. This modded book makes bombs a little bit cheaper, and it also reads that bombs are easier to craft. And I thought this meant that they will take less materials to make, but I didn't notice any difference when checking the recipes. Though a discount on bombs is still nice to have, of course. Leo sent me his mango sticky rice cooking recipe, which leaves 1 single dish remaining, and that is of course the tropical curry from Gus. Every single playthrough. When checking the perfection tracker, I saw that there was still 2 raw golden coconuts scattered around the island. I had absolutely no clue where they could be, so I rushed on over to Leo's hut and I asked the bird for a clue. Stuck in shelly stones has to be the mussels down by the beach, and sure enough, I got another walnut. Oh my god! This leaves 1 walnut left, and upon acquiring a second clue the next day, deep in the water, I whipped up my trusty fishing rod and began hauling in fish down by the beach. And not too long after, it finally happened. Ladies and gentlemen, I have officially found every single walnut on Ginger Island. 130 golden nuts found by hand. And man, I was so immensely proud of this achievement. I still am. I think the villagers knew about this great milestone as well, because the next morning something very special happened. Oh my god, I cannot believe it. Gus is leaving for the island. I repeat, Gus is visiting Ginger Island. Holy shit, it's actually happening. Everybody stay calm. Yep, I couldn't believe my own eyes. Gus was finally on Ginger Island. This man hates tropical weather, and I cannot even hate on that because same. 1 tropical curry recipe, good sir. Thank you very much. And also give me 1 pina colada just because I want. Just because I want one. The good news doesn't stop there, as on day 278 I constructed the island obelisk on the farm. I spent the remaining days of summer working on both of the farms. I also realized that if I want to get my hands on the golden clock within the next couple of in-game years, I seriously had to ramp up my farming and artisan production. My favorite season was here yet again, and this was the perfect opportunity to test out the enrichers that I bought a while ago, or that's what I thought at least. See, I was under the impression that an enricher would load seeds and then automatically plant these. Instead, it loads fertilizer, which is kinda useful, I guess. That's exactly why you read the item description. Anyways. On 283, I finally had enough dragon teeth collected, and this allowed me to make the mini forge, obtaining the Craftmaster achievement. The shipping collection is almost done now as well. I'm only waiting for a few more items to pop up in the upcoming seasons. As for the cooking list, there's still a few ingredients that I'm missing for different dishes, so that's a problem for future me. But at least I have all of the recipes now that I can only get from villagers. I sold all of my accumulated artisan products that night, and this earned me the Legend achievement the next morning, which was a little worrying since only now I managed to earn 10 million gold over the span of 3 years. Guess I have to grind even more. At this point in the game, things are slowly starting to wrap up. There's only a few minor things that are missing for perfection, aside from the golden clock I mean, that's gonna take a while. So to keep myself occupied in the meantime, I started to work on a new shed that day, and if you watched any of my other 100 Days Stardew videos, you already know where this is going. It is a tradition by now, one that always gets me excited, and I'm of course talking about my beautiful hat shed. Over the span of 3 in-game years, I managed to accumulate a surprising amount of hats, and also other fashionable equipment, and they always just end up inside a dresser. So I like to display these inside a shed, and usually I would use alien rare crows for that, since this is the only rare crow where you can place hats on top, but since I have modded scarecrows this time around, that wasn't going to happen. I mean... yeah, that's pretty bad. What about the mask? No? So instead I opted to go for mannequins, which you can purchase from Sandy's shop, for an absolute absurd price, I might add. Yikes. Oh my god, it's so expensive. Okay, oh my god, so expensive. Let's just take those 2 for now. Why am I doing this? Now it's just gonna take even longer to get 10 million gold. Ugh. Most of the next couple of days were spent designing the shed. I grabbed a few decorations from the crane game inside the movie theater, as well as these funky looking secret statues. One fun detail about mannequins is that you can also display shirts, pants, and even footwear on them. I harvested the golden sunberries on 288, and I noticed that they sell for the same amount of money as starfruit. So the only logical next step was to plant more of these, of course. I turned the fruit into more seeds, and planted them inside the greenhouse with some deluxe speed grow on top. I bought a couple more mannequins from Sandy's because I simply cannot help myself, and started tailoring some pants, which is such an underrated mechanic. On Friday I received a very interesting letter from Esme Blackbriar. Can't believe they sent this all the way from Riften. Sadly, this has nothing to do with the famous Thieves Guild, but rather this is a membership for a brand new item that I can purchase from Robin. The collector's catalog is basically an accumulation of every single other furniture catalog as well as the modded ones, which is really handy, but I don't really need that anymore. What I do need is yet another shed construction. While I was tailoring and beautifying the other building, I had another idea on how to make more money in the meantime. This shed is going to be used exclusively for coffee brewers and grinders. I honestly don't know how I didn't think about this earlier. Lattes are still to this day my most profitable artisan product. I can buy an infinite amount of grinders and brewers from our badger friend over at the forest market, finally a use for all of the Junimo gems that I've been hoarding. I can even purchase coffee beans from him, which I need to fuel the grinders, and I'm gonna need a lot of those. I'm not gonna bother upgrading this building, I really don't think that I need more space than that. I don't have a ton of ancient fruit plants this time around, so these machines are gonna process any sort of fruits and edible flowers from the magical fruit trees, and hopefully gonna earn me a lot of money because I sure need it. To speed up the money making even further, I added more casks to the basement to increase my aged cheese production, and I planted more golden sunberries inside the greenhouse. Though it's gonna be a while until I will actually be able to harvest those again. The 16th of fall marks the day of the annual Stardew Valley fair, and this time I brought the few bottles of ancient fruit wine that I've been saving for this occasion. This was thankfully enough to win first place, and for this I got the Artisan Guild manual in the mail the next day. This modded book reduces the process time of all artisan machines. I wish I already had this last year, but better late than never. By Thursday, the coffee shed was in full swing, making any kind of fruit and flower lattes, and while I wait for them to brew even more, I was busy with handing out gifts and working on the hat shed. By day 300 I was almost done with it. There's only one single hat that I was missing now, but that will have to wait until I can reach the summit. The entire last week of fall can be summed up as the following. I maxed out more friendship levels with a few people, worked on the farm, and I attended the Sunberry Twilight event. This time Silas had 2 lucky rings for sale, which is kinda wild, but I've been saving my feathers for something else, and that something else was more fruit saplings from Wildflower. And these were planted inside the greenhouse, though those are just for decorative purposes. We're jumping over to day 309, which marks the very first day of winter, and it was a special one. It was Krobus' birthday, and upon handing him a void egg, I reached 10 hearts with him. And yes, he was the last villager that I needed to fully befriend. This always takes forever when having expansion packs installed. The perfection tracker is now at 89%, and most of this will be filled in once I have the golden clock. From the walnut shop I grabbed a few pressure nozzles as well as more mushroom saplings, and I don't think I updated on this in a while, but the Ginger Island farm was fully decorated by now. Honestly, this might just be my favorite design ever. I didn't look up any inspiration pics this time, and I just love how everything turned out here. I hope you're looking forward to the modded farm tour, because I have so much more to share than that. From the magical fruit saplings, I was able to grab a sunset mango and a ladyfinger banana, which leaves only one single item left for the shipping collection, and that is a lapis moondrop. Sadly, I will have to wait with that until next year, since this is a spring exclusive forage. The winter schedule was somewhat similar to the one from last year when I was working on the G-Bean quest. I would harvest any sort of plants, fruits, and flowers. Most of these were then placed inside the coffee grinders or any other artisan machine that was available, pick up the finished produce, ship absolutely everything, work more on the farm outside, and yeah, that's pretty much it. One thing that I do want to highlight is that on day 312 I made over 1 million gold in a single day, which is a personal record, I believe, when it comes to this playthrough at least. Thanks to the additional artisan shed, I was sitting at almost 10 million gold by the first day of spring. I went straight towards the Sunberry forest, where I was very lucky and instantly found the lapis that I was looking for. Shipping this off earned me the full shipment achievement the next day, and now there was only 2 minor things that were missing for that perfection goal. I haven't really talked about the cooking list in a while, and that's because I had a few issues with it. Let me explain. If we take a look at the recipes inside the player menu, you can see that there's quite a few that I haven't been able to unlock yet, and that's because they're not in the game yet. These are part of the Always Raining in the Valley mini expansion that I talked about back in year 1, and while some of the recipes are available, others are unfortunately bugged or haven't been implemented yet. At the kitchen counter we can see that it's 2 that I should be able to make, being the kitty muffin and the summer pink lemonade. According to the wiki, the kitty muffin will be sent by Sterling once you have 8 hearts with him, which I have. He's one of the first villagers that I maxed out my friendship level with, and the lemonade on the other hand I have no idea how to get. It doesn't say anything. Supposedly all of the recipes should either be sent by Mia or Sterling. So how do I fix this problem? Well, there's a few different options that I have. First, I could just remove the entire mini expansion, but I didn't really like the idea of that. I had a similar issue in my last modded run where I ended up removing an entire mod because it was impossible to get perfection with that, and I still regret that to this day. The mod creator is aware of this issue and they recommend to use something called Perfection Tweaker. I never used this mod before, but as you can imagine, it lets you modify your perfection goals. And in my case, I could use this to lower the needed recipe amount for the achievement to pop up. But I didn't like this idea either, to use a mod to fix another mod. But thankfully, there is a third option. One that is completely vanilla, that doesn't require me to delete or download any new mods. I'm talking about perfection waivers. If you return to the little cave where you freed Professor Snail from after acquiring 100 golden walnuts, you can meet a new person inside called Fizz. He is part of Joja Corporation, and for a meager sum of 500,000 gold, you can purchase a so-called perfection waiver. Each of these papers counts 1% towards perfection, which is exactly what I needed, since the golden clock is gonna fill in 10% after all. For this, I will have to get my hands on even more money, so I'll see you in a bit.
346 minutes later.
And that brings us to day 344. I think, at least. I had more than enough money now to afford both the clock and one single perfection waiver. Full of excitement, I rushed down to the wizard and finally constructed the golden clock on the farm. Also, can we talk about how cute the skin for the clock is? I might have to remove the flooring though, that looks a little weird. As expected, the perfection tracker was now at 99%, so there was only one thing left to do. I was quite nervous when visiting Fizz that day since I never purchased a perfection waiver before, so I had no idea if this would even work out. I was very confused at first because nothing happened. You'd think that when handing someone 500,000 gold in cash, you'd get a reaction out of them, a thank you, a receipt, something? But nope, Fizz was completely unfazed by that. So there was nothing else to do but to just go to bed and pray that it worked. And man, waking up the next morning never felt so sweet before. I was blessed by the magical words that Grandpa was beaming with pride, and the legacy of Moonlight Farm is eternal. Perfection at last. Walking outside my house, I had Leo's bird family fly by, probably to marvel at my beautiful farm, and you know what that means? It was finally time to visit the summit. Together with my favorite Junimo, we shared a heartwarming and potentially slightly buggy. Is the background supposed to just cut out in the middle? Anyways, we shared this beautiful moment together, watched the credits roll. I know it's technically not the credits, but it kind of feels like it. And at last, Grandpa and Mr. Chi said their goodbyes. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching. I had a lot of fun recording and editing all of this. This is by far one of my favorite modded runs I've done so far. I know it was a little anticlimactic to purchase the perfection waiver at the end, even more so because of the fact that it now reads 99 plus 1 waiver at the tracker, but yeah, it's whatever. I have been working on this video for almost 3 months now, so if you enjoyed watching, then please leave a like, it really does make a difference, and maybe even consider subscribing for future 100 days content. I really hope that they're gonna continue working on the Sunberry mod, because this is definitely one of the best expansions that I've played so far. And I play a lot of modded Stardew Valley. My only complaint right now is that in the current version there's not a lot of romance options. Out of the 17 villagers, you can only marry Elias. But yeah, other than slim pickings when it comes to the marriage candidates, this is a really well-made expansion. Once again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.